The children of day and night, both disgusted and disdainful of each other. Their battle has raged since the mythological era, dragging humanity into it. One side shines brightly, while the other is a dark figure with a devilish grin. The conflict continues to this day. The scene is of devastation and ruins with overwhelming dust and smoke. The voice oozes freedom and arrogance, with villains immersing themselves in hell. A wide smile stretches ear to ear, revealing sharp, even teeth delighting in chaos. Ralph stands proudly. His smile seems utterly satisfied as he declares they will last longer than heaven. Police officers utter horrified dramatic exclamations as a highway madness leads to the show in paradise. He stands there atop a large sphere, arms wide with arrogance against the high sky, mocking greetings. Welcome to Ralph's show. A person screams desperately, their face twisted in fear as everyone runs away. Ralph leaps nimbly to dodge the bullets being shot at him like a shadow of death. He seems to be admiring a work of art, his excited tone revealing madness and arrogance. Perfect shot. That's exactly what I want. The police officer's hand holding the gun keeps shaking. He looks panicked right now. He faces the clown full of fear, while the latter leisurely observes him like an interesting object. Ralph shows disdain through narrowed eyes and emits a mocking sound. He becomes cold with bright eyes, grasping a weapon emitting surrounding electricity. Ralph raises his weapon high, waving it casually. Wherever I go, there are always bugs like you. He attacks with contempt and an arrogant expression. Farewell, useless. Ralph's smile exudes danger, madness, and a warped enjoyment. His face is excited, showing ferocity, cruelty, and total enjoyment of the destruction he's causing. Amidst the chaotic scene are the buzzing conversations of surrounding civilians. Should we shoot a hole in its head? Bring more money here? Should I rob another bank? A bus is speeding away at high speed. Ralph also focuses on observing that vehicle. A familiar voice to those people rings. Darlings, it's time to go home. Let's head back. He jumps down decisively while the others rush in. The clown's hand clutches a stack of cash. He brings the stack of money up to his nose to sniff, full of enjoyment and excitement. The clown's face beams with excitement that carries a hint of madness and brutality. This is the scent I crave. I'll use it to create real terror and fear in Ralph's land. The group rushes to the parked bus ahead by the road. A tattooed guy bangs on the door angrily, yelling to open up. He expresses frustration for being kept waiting. What are you doing in there? Cassian is annoyed being pushed too. A school bus door always opens slowly. The driver looks down at the blonde girl beside him in confusion. But who is she? The tattooed guy smirks excitedly, revealing a sinister smile. Hostage. The driver stares and seems surprised, looking at the person next to him. And who is that? Someone is holding the crying, struggling girl. Princess. She's the governor's daughter. They appear smug. We got both the wife and daughter. Quite useful. The governor's wife repeatedly pleads with the kidnapper in a panic. Let the girl go. Please, I'm begging you. But they show aggression and impatience, gripping her tightly and barking. Shut your mouth and sit there. Her daughter cries, reaching her hand out forward. Mommy. She feels heartbroken seeing her daughter like that and calls out, Jessica. The other guy shows annoyance and threatens the girl. I told you to sit still. If you don't listen, I'll pinch you. Suddenly, a voice from behind startled him, making him turn around quickly. Hey, you fool. Cassian walked up to them and made a demand. Let the girl go. The kidnapper looked bewildered. What? Cassian reached out and grabbed the man's face suddenly. Cassian's eyes lit up, showing a cold and fierce demeanor, emphasizing his demand. Let her go. The tattooed man threw the girl into a corner and angrily turned to the driver. What are you doing, you idiot? Cassian's eyes flashed with a cold, fearless look. In this world, some people are born with special abilities. Those who awaken their powers and become criminals out of greed. Those who bear the blood of the night are called villains. Ralph led his group, happily skipping and cheering. Let's go back and celebrate. Here I come, barbecue. Just as they were about to get in the car, an explosion threw them all back. And those who opposed the villains, another kind of extraordinary being. Cassian heroically dragged the man outside. With strong support, he tossed the unconscious kidnapper down. Cassian put his hands in his pockets and watched the others. The clown panicked, his face darkened, and he pointed at Cassian. Who is that? Cassian slowly removed his mask, calmly answering the question. Who do you think? I'm here to clean up the trash. The group was stunned when they saw Cassian's face. Those who bear the blood of the light are called psychers. Cassian greeted arrogantly. It's been a year, Ralph. Nice to see your obnoxious face, you jerk. Ralph was open-mouthed with surprise, showing fear. Cassian, why is that dog here? Cassian finished taking off his mask, then removed his earphones, while Ralph expressed extreme annoyance. What are you doing, you brainless idiot? He continued to question. You're ignoring the plan. While Cassian burned the earphones he held, Cassian coldly declared, Now that the distractions are gone, shall we start the game? Ralph's face froze, showing fear. Ralph expressed panic and extreme rage, his eyes widening. You dog. Cassian held the blazing flame firmly and threatened fiercely with a confident smile. You can't even recycle yourself. I won't leave any of you behind. I'm going to burn you all to death, you bastards. The streets are busy with people going about their daily routines, focused on their work. The news reports continue to discuss yesterday's robbery on South Fifth Avenue, criticizing the excessive force used to take down the criminals. The city council has officially filed a petition to discipline Cassian, the top psyker of Lampus, for his ruthless violence. The Lampus's branch office in Washington is housed in a modern high-rise with a large star logo on top. Schiller reads the information calmly, showing professionalism. Are you the villain here? Cassian grips his paper cup tight until it crumples. Commander, his defiant attitude shows, calling me a villain like that, isn't that a bit harsh? Now you're asking me to show some remorse for my actions, right? Schiller maintains a strict demeanor, directly criticizing his actions, ignoring the plan, and acting on your own. Ralph vanished, and now the public's turning against us. Cassian's eyes widen, his eyebrows raised in strong anger, but that scumbag was rough with the hostage. Schiller warns, you should be more careful. Schiller is decisive and disciplined, emphasizing safety first. The safety of the hostages is the #1 priority. Cassian is overly confident, somewhat arrogant, but I'm sure I can rescue them safely. She frowns, sitting with authority, calm and cold. If you see yourself as a psyker, then think and act like one. I'm telling you to think rationally and act calmly. Schiller poses a challenging rhetorical question. Even if you believe you're right, it doesn't make it right. Look at the result. Do you think your actions are different from those villains? His gaze flickers with doubt. Cassian squints slightly, showing hidden defiance, unwilling to accept the criticism. She issues a warning about the consequences. You're under temporary suspension. You know what will happen if you cause trouble during suspension, right? His frustration with the discipline is clear. Cassian walks quickly down the hallway, still feeling defiant. She lives up to her nickname, the Witch of the Steel Tower. He shakes his head in utter confusion about their relationship. How did Jeff become friends with that woman? Cassian makes a decision. I need to get out of here. Just then, his phone rings. He holds the phone in his hand, the screen showing a call from Jeff. Cassian holds the phone between his shoulder and head to free his hands while buying a drink from a vending machine. Jeff, what's up? Suddenly, he shows surprise. What? Right now? Where? Cassian's face is filled with surprise and concern. Rhodes. It's all the way in Greece. The scene shifts to Rhodes International Airport, a coastal city with old-style buildings closely packed together. He feels grateful and enjoys the current experience. Thanks to Jeff, I get to visit such an amazing place. The scene shows an outdoor cafe in a bustling street. Cassian falls into deep thought. How long has it been since I last saw him? 6 months. His gaze is distant, face contemplative, resting his chin on his hand, showing calm and nostalgia. Cassian remembers his past at the HC orphanage. Young Cassian's voice is excited as he sees inanimate objects begin to move. So cool, they're moving. A group of children looks at the toys with innocent eyes. He expresses sincere admiration. Absolutely amazing. They're alive, right, brother? Jeff smiles gently, using his hand to control, explaining patiently and softly. No, they're called dolls. I make them move with my power. Looks like they're alive, doesn't it? Cassian is very excited, clenching his fist with enthusiasm. You plan to become a psyker, right? Defeat the villains and appear on TV. He scratches his head with a slight smile, showing self-doubt about his abilities. I'm not sure. With power as mediocre as mine, I don't know. Cassian firmly dismisses the modesty, asserting absolute belief in his strength. No way. Your power is super cool. Cassian enjoys his tea as he reflects. That was the 2nd year after I got adopted. Truly a carefree period in my life. Nostalgic. He sits there waiting for quite a long time. As the twilight falls, Cassian stands pensively, his eyes fixed on the phone in his hand. He shows impatience as he checks the time. He's too late. Cassian's anxiety is clear as he continues to look at the phone screen. He isn't answering either. I wonder what's going on. From behind, Jeff limps over and calls his name Cassian. At which point, Cassian, not paying attention, gets a little startled. Cassian turned to look at him, surprised to see Jeff. Jeff's face was injured with streaks of blood, the pain from his wounds making him grimace. Cassian rushed to help Jeff, clearly alarmed, asking repeatedly what happened to him. Couldn't believe he was fighting those villains. Jeff suddenly showed regret and self-blame, saying he shouldn't have called Cassian there. But Cassian rejected that idea, asking what he was talking about. Jeff handed him a necklace, but Cassian was only worried about Jeff's life now, saying that didn't matter. Cassian was visibly panicked by Jeff's injuries, stating his condition was really bad, but Jeff tried to be strong, assuring him he was fine, but insisted on the necklace. Jeff coughed up blood, his eyes wide with pain, blood flowing everywhere. Cassian grimaced, eyes wide with horror. Jeff gripped Cassian's shoulder tightly, his face urgent, telling Cassian there was no time to explain, that he needed to leave quickly, or he'd be in danger too. But Cassian didn't listen, questioning what Jeff was saying. Cassian took out his phone, reassuring Jeff everything would be okay, and that he would call an ambulance. Then he looked up in surprise, his eyes pausing to observe. Someone emerged from the shadows, and Cassian shouted, asking who it was. Jeff seemed to know, his eyes wide with fear. Jeff stood up abruptly, pushing Cassian aside. Jeff glanced back cautiously, his brow furrowed with alertness, his eyes showing clear fear. Jack rushed in like the wind, his eyes glowing red. He swung a sword, creating a bright blue slash. The slash cut across Jeff's neck so fast he couldn't avoid it. Blood splattered, and Cassian stood beside him, eyes wide with grief and despair. He watched helplessly as someone he was close to was killed, shouting Jeff's name loudly. Cassian moved to where Jeff lay on the ground, his hands trembling as he touched him, sobbing heavily. As he looked up, Jack had already leaped onto a building and quickly disappeared. Cassian clenched his teeth, clearly showing his anger and grief. He quickly chased after Jack, determined for revenge, yelling for him to stop. Cassian chased him to a pier by the sea, in the pitch darkness. He stood, hands on his knees, breathing heavily. Catching his breath, Cassian looked up and cursed, calling him a bastard. He steadied his breathing, then tried to question as calmly as possible, asking if it was personal or a client's request. But just a second later, Cassian couldn't hold back, clenching his fist, saying it didn't matter what it was. His eyes were cold, his expression determined, and he conjured a flame with his hand, swearing to burn Jack to ashes, without fail. Jack started to take off his mask, showing some judgment, commenting on Cassian's still rude way of speaking. Cassian was startled, eyes wide open, seemingly recognizing the familiar voice. Jack appeared with a cold, mysterious look under the moonlight, giving off a dangerous and oppressive feeling. Cassian was furious, his face showing clear pain and anger, questioning Jack's actions towards Jeff. Jack responded to Cassian's anger with indifference and cruelty, saying he was just dealing with a traitor in the organization. Cassian's expression showed disbelief and extreme anger at the information he just heard, accusing Jack of nonsense. But a voice interrupted, saying what Jack said was true. Leia appeared with a mysterious look, confirming what was said, that Jeff had killed a teammate. She presented high corroborative evidence to back her words, saying they had not only witnesses, but also evidence, and the top operator of Lampus had confirmed it. Jack didn't hesitate to bluntly accuse Cassian, saying he too was a suspect as a traitor. His attitude became more intense and threatening, his eyes showing cruelty, saying Cassian would tell them everything, including his conversation with Jeff. Jack maintained a calm, composed, and dangerously intimidating look as he stared down at Cassian. Cassian's face was cold, showing no clear emotions. Then he lowered his head, letting out a tired sigh. In over 10 years of working as a psyker, Jeff had never killed anyone, and you're claiming he killed his own colleague. La showed a warning attitude, revealing important information to apply pressure. Besides us, there were over 2 high-level psychers there. I hope you don't make any stupid decisions. Jack showed a strict and tough attitude. His words carried a threat. If you call yourself a psyker, then think rationally and act calmly. This is your final warning. Cassian smirked defiantly, showing an indifferent attitude. Not frightened by the threats, he acknowledged the other person's words and told himself he needed to act rationally. Yes, you're right. Hearing Cassian's words made Leia open her eyes wide in surprise. I should act like a psyker, rational and calm. He suddenly burst out with a fiercely hostile attitude when he declared, "But I'll take your life first." Jack grabbed the hilt of his sword, ready to step into a fight between the two. He swung a long arc, the blade reflecting a blue light. Cassian punched strongly toward Jack. The impact caused both to bounce away from each other, and he immediately jumped back. Jack's eyes showed sharpness as he gripped his sword hilt, preparing to launch a skill. He unleashed a sword soul technique, many swords flying around his body with strong energy. Leia summoned sharp ice shards surrounding her body, cold wind. Cassian was extremely provocative, aggressive, and full of fighting energy as he charged in. The battle proceeded at a very fast pace, causing intense clashes between different powers. He dashed in at high speed, his right hand wrapped in blazing energy. His face showed signs of tension and surprise, reflecting the fierce nature of the clash. Cassian was injured, showing pain as he collapsed to the ground. He clutched his bleeding wound, his face showing pain, tension with cold, sharp eyes. So, there's a sniper among the other psychers. Leia looked at him, issuing a threatening request. Surrender, Cassian. If you keep resisting, the next blow will target your head. Despite being injured and threatened, Cassian still showed defiance as he gathered fire energy in his hand. Screw that. He put all his strength into a powerful attack, his body moving with a strong offensive motion. Take this. A massive explosion occurred as the powers of both clashed directly. Inferno. Cassian clenched his fist, his posture slightly bent, showing tension. Damn it. His body stretched out to quickly escape the explosion. I'll get you later, you bastard. Suddenly, something shot through Cassian's chest. Cassian was shocked and in disbelief after taking an unexpected hit. He fell into the abyss, surrounded by broken rocks and splattered blood. Damn. Air bubbles rose with blood streaks mixing in the water. Cassian floated in the water, lost in thought. I never imagined dying this easily. At least I want to avenge him. Suddenly, the necklace shone in that darkness. In a water tank, a sound echoed. Damn it. A schoolboy slumped over in the toilet bowl. A group nearby whispered fearfully, "That bastard's not breathing. What, is he dead? Run." In the water, the sound of breathing could be heard. The schoolboy moved his body. He lifted his head above the water, gaping for breath. Kang Woo panted heavily from holding his breath for so long. Around his neck was still the glowing Moros necklace, and his face showed extreme surprise. The hallway in the empty classroom. Cassian was completely confused by the scene, wondering where he was. He took one step after another, leaving with thoughts swirling, remembering he fell from a cliff and wondering what was wrong with his voice. Cassian approached a large mirror and was shocked to see his reflection. He touched his face with a trembling hand, eyes wide. He looked at himself, thinking, "Is this really me?" He couldn't believe it. This can't be. It's illogical. How did I become a kid like this? And what about my original body? He splashed water on his face, hoping to wake up, thinking, this must be a dream. Cassian looked at his reflection with frustration, muttering, "Damn it, it's no dream." Gripping the sink tightly, he wondered what on earth was happening, and why. Suddenly, his head ached, making him wince. Memories of this body's past played in his mind. Kang Woo, realizing he was now in Korea. The necklace around his neck started to glow. How is this happening, he wondered, and what's with these strange memories? A sudden sound startled him, his eyes widening. "Awake, Cassian." He turned, searching for the source. "Who's there?" The jewel on the necklace emitted a mysterious smoke. Staring at it in shock, he watched closely. The smoke transformed and spoke to him. "I am Moros, a noble spirit from ancient times." Cassian was stunned, frowning as he saw it. Pointing at it, he demanded, "What are you? Did you come out of the necklace?" And it corrected him. "I'm not a thing. I am Moros." Its eyes narrowed mysteriously. "More importantly, I'm sure you have many questions." Cassian, with a skeptical look, was questioned back by Moros. "Don't you want to hear my answers?" After hearing the explanation, Cassian asked, "Are you saying you brought me back from the dead?" Moros confirmed, "Yes, I've told you countless times. Think about it. You're quite fluent in Korean, right?" Cassian defended, "That's because I used to live in Korea until I was adopted." Cassian frowned with annoyance. "Damn it," he thought. "I died and then came back. Does that mean anything?" Moros seemed to read his mind and spoke. "Jeff gave me to you, didn't he? He did it to protect you." Cassian bowed his head, pondering. To protect me? No way. But what he said back then? He sighed heavily, feeling exhausted and frustrated. Turning to Moros, he asked, "You said Jeff is searching for something like a rusty sword, right?" "The Sword of Destruction, Mark, was created long ago during a mythical war." Cassian questioned. "How do you know about ancient matters?" It replied calmly. "I know because I am a noble spirit." Confused, Cassian asked, "What does that even mean?" Moros explained, "If you don't understand, just listen and learn gradually." Hearing that, Cassian frowned in displeasure. Walking and glancing at his phone, he said, "How can I believe what you say based on what?" Moros hovered around him, saying, "You know, I sacrificed half my power to save you." Cassian stopped scrolling on his phone, saying, "Sacrifice? I can't believe that." His eyes widened in shock at what he saw. It was information about him being killed. What the hell is this? Cassian's face darkened, mouth agape in shock. "They say I'm the one who killed Jeff." His hand trembled as he scrolled through the phone. Cassian remembered past memories with Jeff and thought, this is meaningless. It's not true. He gritted his teeth in anger over the information he received. He became furious, thinking about those bastards. How could they accuse him like that? Instead of protecting the innocent, they were trying to drown him. Moros felt the need to calm down, saying, "Stay calm, Cassian. Your current path you are." Energy erupted powerfully. His eyes gave off a mysterious and powerful vibe. Cassian unleashed his full power, with streams of blue energy surrounding his body, wondering how they could do this. His hands transformed into sharp claws. His eyes showed amazement as he watched his own transformation. Cassian stared at his hands that had turned into claws, thinking, what is this? What's happening? The bullies were getting frustrated and impatient. Damn it, what's taking him so long? Gi-hun said seriously. Stop complaining, he'll be here soon. A moment later, Hwang Yun ran over, breathing heavily. He showed disdain and rudeness, pointing out how the pig was running. Gi-hun leaned down closer to him, asking if he had checked. Moo-yun, frightened, answered, yes. He confirmed there was no one in the bathroom. Hi, holding a baseball bat, questioned. No one. Are you sure? Moo-yun confirmed, yes. They bombarded him with questions about the police or ambulance, and he firmly replied, I didn't see anything like that. Hwang Yun gritted his teeth, cursing, what? He turned to Kang Hai, questioning, you said that bastard was dead, meaning he couldn't breathe anymore, you pig brain. Kang Yi recalled, certain he had checked thoroughly. No way, I was sure he had stopped breathing. Ki-hun quickly dismissed Moo-yun, telling him he could go, and he quickly agreed. Yes. Hang Yun was so angry, he scowled, cursing about how that animal nearly gave him a heart attack with his slow reaction. Ki-hun inserted a straw into a milk carton, calmly saying, it's okay, that's enough, it's actually good that bastard didn't die. Kang Yi turned back to him, asking what he planned to do with him. He casually replied, what do you think? Gi-hun's face turned sinister. I'll make his life hell again. Moros went looking for Cassian and found him standing alone in a corner, asking if he went to the rooftop to avoid being seen. It judged, saying Cassian made a good guess. Cassian shouted angrily, just shut up. Cassian needed to know the reason, asking for an explanation as to why he was destined to become a villain. Moros sighed, acknowledging his temper. Because you came back to life when you were supposed to die. The balance of fate was disrupted, Moros explained. The original owner of your body was destined to survive and become a villain in the future. A potentially catastrophic villain, in fact. Cassian's eyes widened in shock. Catastrophic villain. He jumped up and leaned forward, asking rapidly if because he came back to life, he inherited that doomed fate. Moros confirmed, exactly. Cassian forced a faint smile, as if he refused to accept it. He leaned against the wall, as if drained of all energy, recalling how he used to be a top spy, now destined to be a villain. Cassian extended his trembling hand, thinking about being a catastrophic villain. He punched the wall hard, causing it to crack. Cassian screamed in despair. Why? In extreme anger, he demanded to know why he was resurrected. Moros tried to soothe him. Cassian, even if it's difficult, you need to calm down. But Cassian shouted, shut up. Moros explained, you probably already know, but villains, their rational tendencies are overridden by strong desires. Right now, you can definitely feel it inside. Hearing those words left him wide-eyed and confused, feeling the malice stirring inside him. Moros continued, at that time, I still had control over it, but if your anger grows, the malice could become uncontrollable. He cut in, stop, that's enough. Cassian held his head and sat down in sadness, thinking, a villain? I'd rather. Moros stated simply, you have to live. Which made Cassian's eyes widen. Moros suggested that if Jeff were here, he would tell Cassian the same thing. Cassian looked up and asked, what are you saying? Moros recounted that before their meeting, Jeff expressed regret for dragging Cassian into this. He spoke of Jeff's thoughts, revealing that even knowing death was near, Jeff had no intention of surviving. Moros spoke of Jeff's love, saying Jeff chose to give the only chance of survival to Cassian. He advised, so don't waste his choice, making Cassian again hold his face in anguish. Moros calmly reassured Cassian, you need to calm down like you're doing now. Cassian angrily responded, stop ordering me around. You're annoying. Moros asked again, does this mean you don't want to become human again? Cassian denied, I will. After a moment he called out, hey, you. Moros corrected him, it's not, hey, you. I am Moros, a noble spirit. Cassian calmly asked, exactly, what are you? And don't tell me about being a noble spirit. Moros inquired if he was interested, and Cassian replied casually, of course. Cassian intended to say something important. If you're powerful enough to bring me back from the dead, then Moros interrupted. Once you find the destruction sword, you'll figure it out. Cassian wondered, that scrap sword. Cassian leaned back, glanced around, and speculated. Maybe that scrap the destruction sword is connected to Jeff's death. Moros agreed with him. I believe so. A group of bullies approached with mocking and contemptuous voices, calling him a loser. They walked up with a provocative attitude. Mother Cuckoo, Gi-hun smirked maliciously. Seeing you alive makes me glad. In the school hallway, female students suddenly paid attention to someone new. Wu Chan's bright red hair stood out, making everyone look at him. So handsome. Oh my goodness, this is the first time I've seen someone like him. At that moment, his phone rang. Wu Chan quickly picked up his phone. Yes, Senior Dawong Li, what's going on? He looked around at everyone discussing him about that matter. Wu Chan glanced upwards in a certain direction. He decided to hang up after seeing something. I'll call back later. On the rooftop, Kang Woo was facing the bullies. Cassian's eyes were cold and challenging as he stared at them. Wu searched his memories about their actions. Those guys, Moros said from beside him. Don't worry, no one can see me but you. Wong Yun pointed a finger at him with disdain. Damn, I'm speechless thinking about all the trouble I went through because of that idiot over there. Gi-hun took out a box of cigarettes. Kang Woo, you're still so naive. His face darkened. If you're still alive, you should report back. Who said you could sneak up here and hide? But Cassian's next words made them freeze. Are you done barking? Kang Woo coldly announced. I'm really not feeling well right now. He cracked his knuckles, getting ready for a fight. I don't enjoy dealing with kids, but I think a bit of discipline wouldn't hurt. Moros reminded him. Cassian, even without transforming, these villains have physical abilities far beyond normal people. It warned him. You'd better control yourself. To which he quickly replied, got it. Wong Yun, angry, stepped forward while cursing. Damn it, he frowned with rage. What the hell did you just say? Have you finally gone mad after the mad dog bit you? Kang Woo's gaze was direct, showing no fear. This made him a bit uneasy. Wong Yun raised his hand to hit Cassian. Watch out, you jerk, but Kang Woo punched him hard in the face. The two others stood there, baffled by what just happened. At this point, Wong Yun fell face first to the ground. Gi-hun suddenly widened his eyes in surprise. What did that loser just do? Then it was Kang Hee's turn. He grabbed a baseball bat and ran straight at him. You're dead, you mute. Kang Woo easily blocked the bat's hit with his hand. With the other hand, he clenched it into a determined fist. He punched Kang high, knocking him down. Gi-hun's face turned pale, 2 down with 1 hit. Kang Woo turned back to him and demanded, have you ever felt guilty for bullying others? Gi-hun clenched his jaw, not daring to speak. Cassian moved closer. Why don't you answer? Suddenly Gi-hun smirked with satisfaction. He grinned widely as if relishing it. Guilt? What's that? Seeing you losers act like this makes me sick. He showed disdain. You think just because you beat a few small fry, you can lecture me? Kang Woo's expression darkened. I guess you don't feel any guilt. His eyes were filled with menace. In that case, you need a beating. Once you've had a taste, I'm sure you'll feel guilty. Cassian stands on the rooftop looking at the crowd in front of him. With a calm face, he quickly dashes forward. Gi-hun raises both fists defensively, watching Cassian's approach. He prepares to throw a strong punch as Cassian rushes in. Just as Gi-hun punches, Cassian ducks in time to dodge. Not missing a beat, Cassian swiftly counterattacks with an uppercut from below, snapping Gi-hun's head back. Kunyi's head snaps sharply backwards. Cassian's eyes flash with cold light as he punches hard. His punch lands directly on Gi-hun's stomach. Gi-hun yells in pain, his eyes rolling back. Unable to endure, Gi-hun clutches his stomach and collapses. Cassian, still calm, looks down at him from above. Cassian asks Gi-hun, who is groaning in pain, feeling more regret yet. Gi-hun, trembling, growls, "You bastard." Cassian grabs Gi-hun by the collar, shouting, "I've tried to hold back, but that's not enough for you, is it?" His face darkens, eyes sharp, as he declares, "I'll rough you up a bit more then." Facing those scary eyes, Gi-hun freezes in fear. Suddenly, a voice rings out, making both Cassian and Kun turn to look. "Don't you think that's enough?" Wu Chan stands with hands in his pockets. Looking over, Gi-hun turns pale, startled, thinking, Kim Wu Chan. Cassian quickly releases Gi-hun and looks over. "Who are you, and why are you butting into another's fight?" Wu Chan casually replies, "What do you gain from fighting someone beneath you?" Gi-hun raises an eyebrow in disbelief. "What?" saying, "This loser is stronger than me." The more he thinks, the angrier he gets, clenching his teeth. Then Gi-hun recklessly throws a punch from behind Cassian, shouting, "You bastard!" Cassian uses his foothold to pivot sharply. He kicks Gi-hun hard in the stomach. Gi-hun's body flies backward, hitting the ground hard, just as Cassian is about to follow up. Wu Chan appears behind him, holding his shoulder. I said, "That's enough." Cassian is startled, glancing at his shoulder. Wu Chan is also surprised, eyes wide, when he meets Cassian's gaze. Cassian swings his elbow at Wu Chan's stomach. Suddenly, wide-eyed, Cassian turns to look. Wu Chan crosses his arms to block Cassian's elbow. As Cassian swings another punch, Wu Chan steps back quickly. Cassian is surprised he still hasn't landed a hit. Wu Chan lightly lifts a foot. He kicks out forcefully, but Cassian ducks to dodge. Cassian sees the foot sweep past his face, thinking, too fast. Moros from behind shouts loudly. Cassian, he explains loudly. He's a psyker, and fighting now is reckless. Cassian turns to ask what. Taking advantage of the distraction, Wu Chan raises his fist. He tilted to one side to dodge the incoming punch. A stream of fresh blood immediately spurted into the air. Cassian felt the wound on his face bleeding and cursed under his breath. The quiet school building stood under the twilight sun. Wu Chan and Cassian simultaneously raised their fists and looked at each other. Alert, he stared intently at the other side, still unmoving. Cassian looked at Wu Chan and wondered, is this guy a psyker? He glanced sharply at Cassian. Then Wu Chan raised a hand to stop, saying, let's end it here. Continuing this fight brings us nothing. Cassian's eyes widened in surprise. What? Right after, he held out a band-aid. Wu Chan's voice continued, your face is hurt. He looked down from above at the band-aid. Cassian also looked over, still unmoving. After a moment, he reached out and took the band-aid from Wu Chan. Cassian quickly turned and walked away. Wu Chan watched him leave, lost in thought. He glanced at the three painfully lying on the ground, 1 against 3. I didn't know there was someone like that at this school. Wu Chan suddenly looked to his side. He raised his arm, showing an elbow stained with a small spot of dirt. The sunset light continued to shine down on the city. Inside the net cafe, it was still full of people. After Cassian repeatedly typed on the computer, he saw the message of lost access and thought, I don't have access. It seems my member ID has expired. He couldn't help but hold his head. I was looking forward to this so much, but there's really nothing. A giant skyscraper stood tall in the city. Cassian stood in a corner, looking across, and shouted, Moros? He ate while checking his phone, asking, how do you know that guy's a psyker? It heard and suspiciously asked back, you mean that guy we ran into on the school rooftop? Moros recalled the scene when Wu Chan came close and explained, when you connect with that guy, I can sense it through the interaction. Cassian squinted and said, that's a useful ability. It heard and excitedly argued back, that's nothing. Moros also excitedly shouted, if you use the appraisal eye, I can grasp more detailed information. He asked again doubtfully, appraisal eye, how do you know something like that? It couldn't hide its arrogance and declared, because I'm a noble spirit observing and thoroughly studying the knowledge of this world. Then Moros stared at Cassian and exclaimed, speaking of that, how do you plan to transform into a villain? In case you need to use power in the future, now is the best time to discover your abilities. He was eating, but suddenly stopped, silent and saying nothing. Moros looked over and continued, I guess you don't want that, huh? His voice continued, of course not. Cassian crushed the bread wrapper in his hand, but I'll try. He looked down at his hand and declared, because I have nothing else to rely on except for this villain power. Cassian's face filled with doubt as he asked, what do I need to do? Moros's voice explained, becoming a villain means losing control over your desires and emotions, and he startled, cursing loudly. That sounds complicated as hell. It squinted and said, in your case, it seems your rage is growing more intense. Cassian looked down at his clenched fist and muttered, rage, huh? An intense energy started to surge throughout his body as he thought of his past life. Right after, Cassian opened his mouth wide and let out a growl. He threw his head back and roared at the sky, startling Moros. Lampus, you dogs, I'm going to slaughter all of you. He shouted, what are you doing? Cassian, clearly impatient, yelled back, I'm angry, what else? Hearing this, he responded, no need to shout like that. I just wanted you to picture it in your mind first. Cassian, now furious, yelled, why didn't you say that earlier? Morning in the city center, full of towering skyscrapers. A report blared from a blue car, detailing the identity of the villain. Blaster. He's a madman who loves blowing things up and admiring his own handiwork. Someone looked at the face on the tablet screen, saying, it seems he's illegally entered the country through Insinport, and this afternoon he was spotted in Gatam district. Wu Chan stared at it and muttered, so far, blaster has caused 102 casualties. That's quite a lot, Daewon Lee said while chewing a bun. His hand-to-hand combat skills aren't special, but because he can create explosions, he's troublesome. He switched hands on the steering wheel and added, plus, with that terrible personality and problematic nerves, Wu Chan coldly declared, the only answer for villains is destruction. His eyes coldly stated, they're nothing but criminals who can't control their desires and emotions. We must root them out before they act. Daewon Lee glanced over saying, you know, every time we talk about villains, you look scary. Without caring, Wu Chan replied, a psyker's responsibility is to pursue justice. I'm just saying what's necessary. Hearing that, he couldn't help but smile. Daewon Lee cheerfully said, I'll worry about pursuing justice. You can focus on supporting me, Mr. Trainee. Wu Chan looked over, but didn't say anything further. Meanwhile, inside the Dream PC Gaming Cafe, Cassian calmly looked at his status screen in front of him. Moros looked at the screen and explained, this is your status through the appraisal eye. He couldn't help but exclaim, it looks like a game. Cassian looked at the text on the screen and wondered, dark sword with self-ruvery? Moros explained softly, those are the skills you currently can use. Moros saw the light flash over the wound on his face and said, thanks to self-ruvery, your facial wound healed quickly. Cassian touched it and shouted, really? He stared at his hand and asked, if my arms and legs are cut off, will they grow back? Moros calmly replied, it's possible, but that power is limited by your available mana. Suddenly, Cassian's eyes focused on something. What about the concealed part? Moros quickly answered, that's your latent power. Once you evolve a bit more, you can use it. Immediately afterward, he exclaimed enthusiastically, wait, my mana points are at 300. When I was a psyker, it was over 1500. Touching his chin, Cassian couldn't help but sigh. Disaster level, huh? This is a bit. Moros glanced over and said, disaster level only refers to your potential. Calmly, Moros continued, you know how people talk about uncut diamonds, right? Essentially, whether you remain a rock or become a polished diamond depends on the effort you put in. Cassian pointed at the screen and asked, can your skill appraisal eye be used on others besides me? Moros shouted without hesitation, of course, but remember, my limit is 3 times a day. Cassian asked softly, what if you use it more than 3 times? Looking up, Moros replied, I think it happened once with Jeff. I remember passing out and sleeping for half a day to avoid overwork. Cassian pondered and turned back. Half a day, huh? Moros quickly changed the topic. Try checking your main skills. Cassian quickly asked, what do I do? Do I need to call out the skill name like in a game? Staring at him, Moros explained, imagine an image of the dark sword in your mind. Right after Cassian immediately swung his hand and summoned Mark like this, he was shocked looking at the sword and shouted, it really works. Cassian touched the shadow, then yelled, something's coming out of these shadows. This is crazy. I can touch them. He looked at Mark in surprise and said, for a shadow, its sharpness is on par with a blade. Moros couldn't believe it, staring at Cassian. I thought it would take him a whole day to master the skill, but I never imagined he'd use it right away. Looking at his face, Moros wondered, could it be that Jeff saw this kind of potential in him? Meanwhile, Cassian remained curious. It's tricky, but I think I could use it as a shield too. At sunset, Moros's voice advised, remember, as a villain, you should also create your own outfit and battle vehicle. Hearing that, Cassian immediately exclaimed, at least I know that much. Turning his hand to look at his outfit, Cassian thought, it's not urgent, so this will do for now. Moros gave him a judging look. You know your fashion sense is offensive. Too embarrassed, Cassian barked, shut up. The sunset gradually drowned the whole city. Moros watched Cassian leave and asked, where are you going when the sun's about to set? Walking briskly ahead, Cassian replied, home. Moros silently watched him without saying more. Cassian frowned, looking straight ahead, and said, Kang Woo has a family. Thinking of Yuri, Cassian explained, his parents aren't here, but he lives with an older sister who works a day job. Moros quickly asked, are you thinking about meeting her? Cassian didn't turn his head and confirmed, of course. Cassian bowed his head, recalling the memories of this body, and added, maybe fate destined him to be a disaster-level villain, but Kang Woo seemed to care a lot about his sister. Hearing that, Moros was shocked and exclaimed, do you feel guilty? Cassian turned to look and said loudly, weren't you the one who said that even though it wasn't time yet, he died because of me? Suddenly, there was a blinding light and a loud explosion. Cassian heard the sound and immediately turned to look beside him. He saw people running out of the shopping center. Cassian looked at the flames over there and couldn't help but stand still in shock. The entire shopping center was engulfed in flames and thick black smoke. He stood still, hearing people around him shouting, damn it, it's a villain. It's already on the news and all over social media. A woman covered her mouth and exclaimed, oh my God, it says they've taken a mother and her child hostage too. Prompting Cassian to look over. Hostages, he gritted his teeth and raised his head to look in that direction. Moros was startled to see Cassian dart past him. It watched Cassian's racing figure and shouted, wait, Cassian. Moros quickly caught up to Cassian and said, you're going up against a villain. He's on a whole different level than those petty criminals from earlier. It couldn't help but loudly remind him his power might exceed any human capacity. Cassian, not caring, responded, then I'll just make myself a villain. He was startled by the next words. The unspoken rule among villains is not to fight each other. As a former psyker, you should know that, Moros continued, unless it's personal vengeance or special reasons like revenge. Moros glanced over and added, if you go in there as a villain, you might interfere with someone else's livelihood. Thinking of the other villains, it exclaimed, that means you'll become the #1 communal enemy even before you face Lampus. Hearing this, Cassian's running feet came to a halt. He looked up at the flames coming from inside the shopping center. Cassian, calm-faced, raised an eyebrow and said, it's fine. Moros was taken aback by these words, eyes widening. The building's outer glass had started to show cracks. Moros beside him loudly reminded, Cassian, I hope your actions aren't out of obligation as a psyker. Cassian's voice immediately echoed, it's not related. Cassian clenched his fist, heading inside. There are hostages, they said, a mother and her child. He stepped up the stairs. If I didn't know, it would be fine, but now I do. Cassian glanced over and shouted, doing nothing would be wrong. Moros couldn't help but stand still in amazement at these words. Images of Jeff flashed in its mind. He was hot-tempered, that's why everyone called him a mad dog. He looked at a picture of the two of them in his watch. But his heart is warmer than anyone else I know in this world. Jeff looked over, smiling. And that's why I believe in Cassian. Moros watched Cassian quickly run inside and thought, I chose Jeff. It looked at Cassian's serious face, and Jeff chose Cassian. Moros thought of Jeff's slight smile and said, if that's the case, then I really can't say anything more, can I? It watched Cassian's back and shouted, transform, Cassian. I'll support you wholeheartedly. Inside the mall, it's pitch black. Nearby shelves are shattered, pieces scattered on the floor. Puzzle pieces are broken and lying around. The glass cabinet holding stuffed animals shows cracks. Inside the toy store, a mother and her child are tied to chairs, pleading with Blaster, please don't do this. He bends down gently, reassuring them. Oh, so pitiable. Don't cry. Blaster holds a bomb switch in his hand. He looks at the mother's pale face and says, we're doing this for everyone's enjoyment. You shouldn't be crying. Blaster leans forward, excitedly, shouting, say cheese. Please smile happily. Then he flashes his teeth, raising the control switch like me. Meanwhile, a blue car pulls up to the gas station. Wu Chan frowns, leaning against the car. He rolls up his sleeve to check his injury. I let my guard down yesterday with Cassian, he remembers. He reaches into his pocket for his vibrating phone, thinking, I don't even know his name. He puts the phone to his ear. Yes, Kim Woo Chan speaking. After listening, he jolts, eyes wide. Nearby, Daewon Lee smiles into his phone, apologizing. Sorry, I'm busy now. Let's eat something nice next time on me. He comforts the person on the other end. I'm serious. You're the only one for me. I have to go now. Love you. Wu Chan notices, then answers his phone. I was in the bathroom, but I'm out now. After hanging up, he announces, Senpai, there's an emergency call. Daewon Lee is startled. What are you saying? Wu-chan calmly informs, Blast has appeared. Meanwhile, Blaster's voice asks, have you ever seen fireworks before exploding high in the night sky? The teary-eyed boy replies, no. Blaster tilts his head skyward, exclaiming, oh, can't believe you've never witnessed such beauty. What a tragedy. He gently brushes the boy's face, but don't be sad about it. Blaster grins wide, saying, I'll show you something even more beautiful. He imagines the mother wrapped in explosives, declaring, because your beloved mother's blood and flesh will burst magnificently along with the fireworks. His eyes bloodshot. He laughs maniacally. The boy, confused and terrified, looks at a pile of switches nearby. Blaster's eyes light up, excitedly hugging himself. I'm tingling with indescribable excitement now. He points his hands at the trembling mother. Should I start with the arms, then the legs? I need to keep the head as a keepsake, so I'll save the neck and chest for last. Suddenly, Blaster pauses, looking up at a sound from above. His bloodshot eyes fixate upward. He smirks, visibly excited. Turning to the outside, he yells, looks like we have visitors. Welcome. Blaster stares at the pile of bombs, saying, no need to be shy. Come on. His hands gather energy, urging, let's go. Cassian smashes through the glass behind Blaster, charging forward. All right. Hearing the sound, Blaster quickly turns his head. Cassian's fist punches Blaster straight in the face. Blaster flies backward, crashing into and smashing through display cases he hits. Cassian stayed still, staring at Blaster lying in the rubble. His eyes lit up as he looked up in that direction. Then Cassian glanced at the mother and child tied up, questioning silently. Moros quickly responded, saying they were fine. Suddenly, he was startled to see a bomb on him. Cassian, your body. Right after that, a yellow light flashed from where the bomb was. The mother and child looked over, their faces full of worry. Moros was also shocked, his eyes wide with surprise. Cassian quickly rushed toward the outside. He gritted his teeth and sped out of the store, inside the pitch-black shopping mall. Suddenly, a loud explosion and flames shattered the glass. The people outside looked up and shouted, something just exploded. When will the police arrive? And what about the psychers? The white smoke cleared, revealing broken toys lying on the ground. The glass cases displaying the toys were shattered into pieces. Blaster stood up looking at the rubble in front of him, letting out a shout. His lips curled up as he called out, barging in without knocking. Blaster wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and laughed, cursing. Not sure who that bastard is, but he's definitely an inconsiderate fool. He looked at the pile of rubble and yelled, I could have delivered a better fireworks show, but unfortunately he died too soon. Right after, Blaster raised his hand, gathering energy as he looked at the mother and child, saying, don't worry, because in his position, light gathered in his palm as he laughed loudly. Tonight, you two will become the highlight. A blue energy beam immediately pierced through Blaster. He turned his head to see fresh blood spraying continuously. The arm holding the bomb fell to the ground. He clutched his arm, threw his head back, and let out a scream. Blaster kept yelling madly. Right after, Cassian grabbed Blaster by the collar. His eyes flashed with a strong light as he hurled Blaster to the ground. With the rubble, white smoke quickly rose high. Blaster lay on the ground, raising his trembling arm to use his power. Cassian immediately grabbed his hand, knowing this would happen. With his other hand, he raised his fist and asked, you think I'll fall for the same trick twice? Then Cassian punched him straight in the face, shouting loudly, bastard. Inside the store, Blaster's screams kept echoing. His entire face became deformed under Cassian's fist. He was almost losing it, relentlessly punching Blaster hard. Cassian kept punching down like a madman, thinking more. With a terrifying smile, he said, more. Moros saw this and shouted, Cassian. He couldn't hold it and spat out a mouthful of blood. Moros used his blue energy to look down Cassian. Suddenly, as he was about to punch, he stopped in shock. Moros spoke from behind Cassian's head. Finally, you heard. He opened his eyes wide, gasping, feeling the blood on his face. Cassian looked at Blaster's deformed face on the ground. Damn, what is this? He looked down at the blood on his hands and shouted, I did this. Moros pointed out from behind. Earlier, you were in an uncontrollable frenzy. Cassian's whole body trembled as he continued. Your emotions exploded and went beyond reason. Moros recalled Blaster's crazed state. If you can't regain control, you'll become a madman, only caring about your desires. Cassian quickly interrupted. Enough. Cassian held his head and cursed through clenched teeth. Damn it. He bit his lip hard, holding his head silently. Moros saw Cassian stand up and asked with concern, Are you okay with the earlier explosion? Cassian's voice replied, I'm fine. We should worry about the hostages first. The ground was littered with debris. Cassian walked step by step toward the mother and child. Suddenly, both he and Moros were startled and confused. The mother and child were trembling, looking at Cassian in fear. A long time later, police cars stopped in front of the shopping mall. Blaster was also taken to an ambulance. Daewon Lee held his phone reporting, Yes, the mother and child who were held hostage are safe now. He looked around and said, We should keep a closer eye, but now it appears like a territorial dispute among the villains. Daewon Lee's voice continued, According to witnesses, it was an unknown villain. Wu Chan stared silently at the teddy bear in his hand. He clenched it tightly and thought, Kidnapping even a child. Wu Chan frowned in anger. Only death is the answer for these villains. Suddenly, the police chatter made him look over. They said a villain saved the hostages. What nonsense, even with many witnesses there. Wu Chan immediately spoke up. Sorry to interrupt, but what you both just mentioned, don't share it with anyone. Suddenly, a voice called from behind, Wu Chan. Daewon Lee looked over and reminded, Secure the CCTV footage from the HR department on the first floor. I'll return soon. Wu Chan calmly replied, Got it. He stared again at the teddy bear in his hand. Then Wu Chan threw it, without hesitation, into a nearby puddle of blood. Late at night, the skyscrapers were still lit up. Cassian leaned against the chair, looking up at the sky. He suddenly remembered the scene of the mother and child clinging to each other, trembling and looking at him. Please save us, please. Cassian held his face with both hands and let out a sigh. Moros flew over concerned, asking if Cassian was troubled by something. His voice continued, saying, If it weren't for your help. Cassian looked down at the ground and asked, Then maybe I would have gone mad like that jerk, huh? Moros replied without hesitation, Yes, exactly. Cassian leaned back on his chair, looked up at the pitch-black sky, and asked, Am I a villain? Suddenly, the phone next to him started ringing. Cassian quickly grabbed the phone to check. Moros flew closer and asked, Who is it? Cassian calmly answered, It's Kang Woo's sister. She says, Dinner is ready. Moros immediately asked, You're going home? Cassian stayed silent for a moment and began typing a message to send. Meanwhile, when everyone else had left work, one room was still lit. Inside that commercial sense HR room, Daewon Lee furrowed his brows and let out a sigh. He stared at the screen, startled. Who is that freak? Daewon saw Cassian gently freeing a mother and shouted, Is there something wrong with my eyes? No matter how I look, he seems to be rescuing hostages. He turned to look at Wu Chan behind him and asked, Is this a hidden camera prank or something? Wu Chan stayed silent, staring at the screen, not moving. Inside the apartment building, the lights were still on. Cassian quickly headed to room 701. He looked at the well-covered food in front of him. Cassian raised his hand to take the note attached to the food cover. On the note was Yuri's reminder, warm up the rice and food in the microwave before eating. I also bought some fruit and put it in the fridge. The note read, I put a lot of effort into cooking today, from the world's most adorable sister. He suddenly remembered when he was young, with Jeff, who gestured for silence and said, Eat and don't let the director catch you. He quickly and happily bit into the bread in his hand. Cassian silently stared at the note, not moving. He couldn't help but recall his past life. When the director said, You're late for dinner, Cassian, he bowed apologetically. I'm sorry. I was late because I was playing games. She turned and left with a basket saying, "No food for kids who don't eat on time." Right after that, a bread was placed right in front of him. Back in reality, Cassian looked at the food on the table. He remained seated, looking at the delicious food on the table. Cassian gently scooped a small spoonful with a spoon. He brought it to his mouth and softly took a sip. Cassian recalled his time with Jeff and said, "It's delicious. It's been so long since I've had a meal made for me." He stayed in his seat and softly said, "Thank you for the meal." The next morning in that apartment building, sunlight shone directly into the room. The clock showed it was 7:50 a.m. Cassian heard the sound and slowly woke up. He could feel the light streaming in from outside. Cassian lay still, silently contemplating. In the bathroom, he could hear himself brushing his teeth. 2 mouthwash cups were placed next to each other on the sink. Cassian quietly continued brushing his teeth, thinking to himself, "I am, but I am not me." He looked up at the face in the mirror, unable to believe he was living someone else's life. Cassian tilted his head back, pondering, thinking he might feel better after a night's sleep, but he didn't. He thought, "If I could, I would go back to the past." At that moment, Moros appeared. "Good morning, Cassian." Cassian replied, "This morning isn't that great either." After a while, Cassian quickly changed his shoes, getting ready to head out. Yuri's voice from behind made him look over, asking, "Off to school?" She rubbed her eyes and said, "At least if you're going, you should tell me." Cassian frowned and sighed internally. Damn, talking to her like this is so awkward. He stared at Yuri, hesitating about whether to tell her he's not really her brother. Suddenly, she searched her pocket. "Oh, right." Yuri held up a card saying, "Here, the ATM card we talked about before." She reminded him softly, "I've deposited your allowance in here, so spend wisely." Cassian took it, wondering where she got it. He lightly took the ATM card. Cassian remembered back to then, when Kang Woo softly asked, "Hey sis." He looked uncomfortable and asked, "Can I get next month's allowance in advance?" Yuri was surprised and said, "But I just gave you last week." Kang Woo replied, actually, he remembered the people grabbing him, saying, "Lend me some money, just 100 is that okay?" Thinking about it, Kang Woo responded, "I lost my wallet." Yuri placed the remote down and said, "All right." She continued, "Since you begged, I'll do it." Kang Woo was excited and shouted, "Thank you, sis." After that, Yuri raised a finger and added, "I'll make an ATM card for you to use too." He repeated in surprise, "An ATM card." Back to the present. Cassian looked at the card in his hand, thinking, so that's what it was? Then he pointed to the door and said, "Thanks, sis. I'll use it carefully." Yuri replied, "Okay, take care." She touched her chin, making Cassian stop in surprise. "Wait, Kang Woo, you look a bit different today," Yuri exclaimed. "Did you change your hairstyle?" Kwon Kang Woo. "You look like someone else." She quickly came closer, puzzled. "But I told you to get a haircut before, and you wouldn't." Cassian glanced back. "I just styled it differently." Yuri peeked out from behind the door and asked, "Got a girlfriend?" Cassian raised his hand and hurried into the elevator. "I'm off to school." A group of noisy students rushed into the school. Cassian also quickly went to room 3-1. His classmates looked over, murmuring. They all stared in wide-eyed surprise, looking in that direction. The blonde guy frowned, putting a bandage on his face while checking his phone. He noticed eyes watching him and glanced sideways. As soon as the blonde guy looked over, the students quickly turned to look up. Furious, he slammed the table hard. "You idiots, what are you looking at? Got something to say? Want to die?" The blonde guy remembered getting punched by Cassian and gritted his teeth, cursing under his breath. "Damn it, it's all because of that failure." He felt a hand on his shoulder and spun around, shouting, "What now?" There was Cassian with one hand on the blonde's shoulder, looking down at him. Cassian's face turned serious and coldly pointed out, "Where's my seat?" The blonde guy, sweating cold, looked up. Then he pointed ahead. "Over there." Cassian grabbed his bag and quickly headed to where the blonde guy indicated. He threw his bag on the desk and leaned back. Moros turned to look at the blonde guy behind him. Can't you feel his eyes on you? He's staring right through you." The guy trembled and cursed under his breath. That bastard. Suddenly, the buzz of conversation caught Morris's attention. A terrifying villain? Really? Right here in our neighborhood? A male student shouted excitedly. I saw it. Those villains were fighting each other. I'm not kidding. Someone nearby also chimed in loudly. Really? That's wild. Moros looked over at Cassian. Sounds like they're talking about you. Meanwhile, 3 other male students chatted on. That's scary. You know, it's also a random mass murder case. I heard the victim was a high school girl. The blonde-haired student turned pale and hugged himself. I saw that in the news too. They cut off her limbs and drained all her blood. Another side. No doubt about it. It's the villains. Cassian looked up when hearing someone say, "You know what? I heard the one responsible is a villain named Driver." The other 2 immediately got excited and shouted, "Really? But Driver is the boss of Villzone in Gatam district." Cassian touched his chin, glanced sideways, and wondered, "Is there a Villzone in Gatam district?" Another voice spoke up. "Have you heard about it?" Someone asked quickly. "About what?" Another continued, "I heard Driver is conducting some kind of human experiments." The others gasped, "Wow, that guy must be crazy." Cassian kept scrolling on his phone, ignoring the noisy environment. Damn, that's disgusting. I hope those villains all rot in hell. Outside behind the school building, Daegu laughed excitedly. That's so funny. Gi-hun, holding a cigarette, angrily said, "Watch your mouth, quack." Daegu, he mocked in response. "Struggling after getting your butt kicked by a loser, huh?" Hearing that, he yelled, "Don't mess with me." Daegu raised a hand to calm him. Okay, relax." Then he quickly stubbed the cigarette out. So Daegu smirked and asked, "So are you saying we should go after that guy together?" Gi-hun held out an envelope and said, "I can't just sit back and do nothing." He raised his eyebrow, looking down. "I'll make it worth your effort." The bespectacled guy behind them silently watched Daegu and Dong-sung exchanging smiles over the money. He stared at them thoughtfully. Quack-da, he's Gi-hun's childhood friend. But the bespectacled guy crossed his arms, thinking, "I really don't want to get involved with that jerk." Daegu put his arm around Gi-hun's shoulder and asked, "That's what friends are for, right? You scratch my back, I scratch yours, huh?" His eyes glowed a bright red as he said, "Just say the word. Should I break his arms and legs, or just kill him?" Inside the school, the dismissal bell rang. Cassian, like the other students, quickly left. Suddenly, a voice called out, making him turn. "Hey, wait up." Wu-chan walked calmly toward Cassian, with his hands in his pockets. With no expression, he asked, "Sorry, I don't know your name. How's your injury?" Cassian pointed to the band-aid on his face. He casually said, "See for yourself." Moros next to him realized what was happening. Earlier, Cassian had applied the band-aid over the previous day's injury. Moros had seen him do it in the bathroom and asked, "The wound's healed. Why cover it up?" Cassian gestured toward Wu-chan. "If I run into him again, he might find it suspicious." Thinking about it, Moros was impressed. The kid's pretty thoughtful. Cassian looked directly at Wu-chan and asked, "What do you want?" "Planning to pay my hospital bills." Hearing a noise behind him, he glanced to the side. Wu-chan, still with his hands in his pockets, asked, "Aside from hospital bills, anything else I can do for you?" Cassian's lips curled into a slight smile. Then he turned and quickly walked away. Wu-chan shouted after him, "What's your name?" Cassian waved goodbye, saying, Kang Woo." Wu-chan watched him go, thinking, Kang Woo. On the other side, Cassian hurried out of the school gate heading home. He frowned and muttered to himself, "So annoying." Moros looked over and asked, "That psyker kid worries you?" Squinting thoughtfully, Cassian spoke. "That kid's name is Kim Wu-chan, and he has fire powers." He recalled his impression of him. The kid's bright looks could make any idol jealous. Good student, good conduct, and with his sense of justice, he won't let any bad guys off. He's the rising star among psychos. Moros stayed silent after hearing this. Cassian walked quickly. That's what the internet says about him. It caught up with him, asking, "He's got everything, so are you jealous?" Thinking of his past life, Cassian added, His ideal model was someone with similar powers. High Psyker Cassian Lee. Moros was surprised. You're his ideal model? Cassian couldn't help but sigh. What's a rising star at the Psycho school doing in an ordinary high school like this? He looked in a direction and stayed silent. A group of guys with blonde hair hid behind a nearby wall watching. Moros rolled his eyes, thinking, these stupid, predictable kids. The phone in the blonde guy's hand buzzed with a voice asking, "Hey, how's it going?" He gritted his teeth and replied into the phone, "We're telling him, no problem, I'll stay in touch." At the same time, behind the nearby school building, Daegu saw Gi-hun hang up and immediately asked, "What did he say?" He smirked. He said, "They're following that loser. At least he's useful this time." Daegu flicked his cigarette to the ground. "All right then, let's go. What are we waiting for?" He led Gi-hun and Dong-sung ahead. "Let's go." Behind the tall buildings was the old neighborhood. This place is filled with trash cans piled up like a mountain. Cassian kept moving quickly forward without looking back. The blonde guy watched Cassian's back and cursed to himself. He gritted his teeth, thinking angrily, "What's that jerk doing here? Damn it. This path leads to the criminals' area." Suddenly, a voice startled the blonde guy, saying, "Hey." He clutched his chest and fell back, shocked as Daegu, looking down from above, asked, "What's wrong?" He smirked and leaned closer to the blonde guy. "What's your problem?" The blonde guy quickly waved his hands, saying, "No, I mean." Kun from behind immediately asked, "Where's that loser?" The blonde guy turned his head and looked back. "Over there." When he looked, the spot was empty. Daegu's group immediately shouted, "There's no one there." The blonde guy, startled, shouted, "He was just there." The guy with glasses shouted excitedly. He went into the alley. Daegu's group quickly chased after him. "Hurry up. Catch him before he runs away." The blonde guy raised his hand and shouted, "Wait, that's the criminals' area." His face turned pale as he gritted his teeth and cursed silently. The blonde guy had no choice but to quickly follow the group. Daegu's group weaved through the narrow alley. They looked around, searching for Cassian's figure. Suddenly, Daegu looked at the modeled wall in front of them. "Where the hell is this place? It's a dead end." Gi-hun turned his head and asked, "Are you sure he ran this way?" The guy with glasses affirmed, "Yes, I'm sure." Dee's face darkened. "Damn it." He kicked the guy in the knees. "Are you all messing with me?" The guy with glasses was startled, his eyes wide with shock. Daegu walked over with his hands in his pockets. "Are you guys taking turns making fun of me?" Just as the guy was trembling, a voice rang out, "Looking for me?" Daegu's group simultaneously turned to look in one direction. Cassian, with a backpack, looked straight at them. He calmly announced, "If you're looking for me, then you've come to the right place." The camera behind them quickly captured everyone present. Cassian looked up toward the surveillance behind Daegu's group. A bright red light was operating on the camera. At the same time, Cassian's face appeared on the computer screen. A person leaned against the chair, looking at the screen, humming. In his hand, he held a screwdriver. Driver had his feet up on the table, supporting his chin with one hand, looking very relaxed. The corner of his mouth turned up into a smile. "It seems we have a visitor in an alley behind an abandoned building." Cassian grips his backpack tightly, looking across at them. Daegu looks over and laughs loudly, saying, "Look who we have here. This kid's got water in his brain." He's all excited, laughing. "You're the one who beat Kyun, huh?" Cassian glances over at Daegu. Daegu starts cursing loudly. "Look at the face on this kid." Daegu's eyes flash red as he raises 3 fingers. "I'll give you 3 seconds. If you don't want to die, kneel down." Cassian stays calm as Daegu counts. 1. Daegu's veins pop as he yells 2. Cassian remains calm as he finishes counting 3. The blonde guy behind Daegu is shocked by Cassian's courage. Daegu angrily grits his teeth and gets in Cassian's face. "You really want a beating, don't you?" Cassian calmly replies, "You call that fighting?" Just as he's yelling in surprise, Cassian pokes Daegu's eyes with 2 fingers. "What?" Daegu clutches his eyes, bending down and yelling, "My eyes." Then Cassian grabs Daegu by the hair. He slams Daegu's head hard into the ground. Daegu's teeth crack. Gi-hun's gang is shocked, eyes wide. Daegu hits the ground hard. Cassian releases his grip and looks down from above. Why do you keep getting that ugly face so close to mine like an idiot? Dong grits his teeth and growls, you punk. He charges at Cassian, face full of anger. You brat. As Dong Sung swings, Cassian sidesteps. Dong doesn't stop and tries to punch straight down. Cassian easily sidesteps again, quickly moving behind Dong Sung. Dong turns his head to look behind him. Right then, Cassian kicks Dong Sung hard in the knee. Dong Sung falls hard to the ground. He closes his eyes, letting out painful groans. Cassian stands tall, lifts one foot in front of him. I plan to go easy on you guys, but you really don't know any better. As he stomps down, Dong screams loudly. Cassian quickly turns to look at Gi-hun and his crew. With a calm face, he asks, you just going to stand there and watch? Suddenly, a voice stops Cassian in his tracks. This guy, Daegu, holding his head, trembling all over, lets out a dry cough and stands. His eyes are bloodshot as he growls, you're dead meat. Cassian is surprised by this, thinking, did I hit too softly? Daegu quickly raises his hands, ready to fight. He's a high school Muay Thai runner-up, easily raises his leg. Gi-hun sees this and smugly thinks, finally, the Muay Thai expert shows himself. That guy's done for. The two guys, the blonde and the one with glasses, looked over in surprise. Cassian stood still, letting Daegu approach him. His eyes were calm and steady as he looked directly at Dae. He remembered the time he practiced boxing at the gym, or when he built endurance by running. Cassian recalled facing a Class C psyker, an assassin, and John Klaus, a physical attribute expert. At that moment, the two below shouted excitedly, take it easy, you'll kill him. That brat got away. Someone walked up and asked, what are you guys doing? The blonde guy looked over and yelled, Jack. The person asked again, what are you doing? Without concern, he replied, this newbie is being re-educated. The blonde guy looked at Jack and said, you're here, but you're a bit late. He looked up at the platform and was startled. John kept punching hard at Cassian, who was blocking with both hands. Jack didn't move and asked, why doesn't he wear protective gear? What an arrogant guy. The blonde guy laughed. Our precious rookie said he didn't need them. He calmly replied, I'm not talking about the rookie. Hearing that, the two were startled and shouted, are you talking about John? What? Jack looked over and introduced Cassian and Lee. This guy graduated as the youngest to ever top the combat training school. They screamed in fear. Top graduate. Jack crossed his arms, looking at the platform. He's a close combat expert, never known to lose in one-on-one. Hearing this, the two were shocked and exclaimed, close combat. Isn't he a fire controller? Isn't he a mage? Along with a loud crash, all three looked up. Cassian delivered a straight punch to John's face. Back to the present. With a loud crash, Daegu fell backward. Cassian looked down at his body lying on the ground. The four remaining Dong Sung members were trembling as they watched. Daegu wiped the corner of his mouth and coughed. Right after, Cassian grabbed Dae's face with his hand. His eyes flashed red as he pressed down hard. Cassian tightened his grip, thinking, these poor gang kids, they keep causing trouble because no one taught them otherwise. His eyes flashed as he thought, if the opponent was stronger, these guys would never dare to act like this. Cassian thought about Jack and Leela. It's true. With those bastards, if only I was stronger back then. He remembered the knife that hit Jeff. Cassian couldn't forget Kang Woo's face. He thought about them constantly blaming themselves. If Jeff and Kang Woo could have escaped their wretched fate, Cassian looked down and promised himself, I'll become stronger, become invincible, and make Lampus tremble. Gi-hun, shaking, shouted, let's get out of here quickly. The blonde also glanced over and said, we should leave now. Cassian heard the piercing scream and looked over. The group saw Driver standing above, yelling, devil. The giant screwdriver hovered in the air. They saw him standing on it and shouted, Driver. Gi-hun's group looked up and shouted, Screwdriver. He looked down from above with a gentle smile. Gi-hun let out a cry, his face pale and trembling. Then all four of them immediately turned and ran away. Daegu cried out too, as he quickly followed, saying, don't leave me behind. Cassian glanced up at the driver above. He smiled slightly while looking down. Moros quickly approached and asked, Cassian? Cassian looked up quietly, thinking, is this Screwdriver? He gently landed on the ground and looked over. Not happy. Driver carried a screwdriver on his shoulder. He smiled brightly and exclaimed, I thought I should lend a hand, but maybe I misunderstood. Cassian calmly replied, I don't remember asking for your help. Driver asked softly. Is that not good? Do you not know who I am? Cassian said loudly. Your Screwdriver. He immediately pointed the screwdriver at Cassian, saying, you speak as if you don't care. You've really hurt my pride. The light from its tip kept gathering. Cassian was startled looking at the light facing him. Driver's voice continued, since you came to the outlaw's territory. He grinned and asked, you know what's waiting for you, right? The energy ball kept gathering, emitting a blinding light. Then, from the tip of the energy, a gigantic flower blossomed. Cassian listened, while Driver laughed loudly, surprised. I was just kidding. Immediately after, his face darkened, but next time, it might be real. You don't want to look like a fool. Cassian and Moros stood silent, stunned, looking at the Driver. Then, as Driver saw him turn and leave quickly, he shouted, "Hey, where are you going?" Cassian still didn't look back, and replied, "Home." He shouldered the huge screwdriver again, watching as Cassian left, thinking, did I just get ignored? Cassian walked quickly through the narrow alley alone. Moros quickly came up to remind him, "Cassian, that was very dangerous." He remembered the appearance and added, "That screwdriver, you can't beat him now." Moros squinted his eyes and quietly reminded him, "From my calculations, his magic isn't inferior." He saw Cassian walking ahead and was surprised, exclaiming, "Cassian!" Moros looked skeptically at Cassian's back. He saw Cassian reach a wall, then lean against it with both hands and sigh. Moros could only sigh and think, already shaken after meeting someone strong. His voice echoed in the alley, "If you train hard now, you'll defeat him soon." Cassian quickly said, "Moros, can you check his information with your magic eye?" He was startled and shouted, "What?" Cassian's hand was covered with scales. This is the perfect chance to face a strong opponent. His body was covered in armor. I think the best way to learn. Moros was startled hearing Cassian saying, "Is to seize the opportunities life gives you." Cassian's eyes shone blue as he smiled. "I can't miss such a good chance." Back in the old alley where Cassian's group had encountered him, Screwdriver lifted a leg and kicked hard. He tried kicking several times, wondering if this was what the other guy had done. Screwdriver held his head with both hands, thinking about Cassian's kick and mumbling, "That guy, his movements aren't normal. Who is he?" He recalled the scene of himself pointing a screwdriver at Cassian, noting Cassian didn't even flinch at the sight of him. Screwdriver remained motionless, musing that students these days are really scary. He sensed energy approaching and quickly turned around. The moment he looked back, Screwdriver saw Cassian's eyes flash blue, charging straight at him. He was immediately startled, but stayed rooted to the spot. As Cassian landed a strong punch, Screwdriver barely managed to raise both hands to block in front of his face. His whole body instantly moved back a large distance. From behind his hands, Screwdriver peeked out to look in that direction. Right after, Cassian raised his fist and quickly dashed towards him. Cassian used a shadow strike, but Screwdriver dodged it. Cassian looked up and saw him jumping into the air to avoid it. Looking up, he thought to himself, as expected, he's not bad. High above, Screwdriver jumped and looked down at Cassian below. Then his hand quickly spun the screwdriver in his grasp. Screwdriver quietly called out, summoning his weapon, and the screwdriver immediately grew larger. Moros saw this and shouted a warning, "Be careful." He summoned his weapon. Screwdriver aimed the giant screwdriver at Cassian, noting, "That thing is really dangerous." He softly asked, "You know, right?" Right after, a massive sphere of light quickly gathered. The corner of Screwdriver's mouth curved up as he said, "I think I should return the favor a bit." Cassian looked up, knitting his brows tightly, and he smiled brightly at seeing the sphere finished gathering. The beam of light, called radiant light, shone directly down where Cassian stood, along with the blinding light. The whole narrow alley was completely covered. A blinding light covered the entire alley. Crow noticed the light and quickly looked over. Reddy turned his eyes toward the dazzling purple light. Blackhand was startled and looked up, wondering what it was over there. Driver looked down at Cassian from above and felt confused. The blinding light disappeared, revealing Cassian still standing there. Cassian knelt on one knee and used Mark to block the attack. Moros squinted and reminded him, "His mana is over 1,013 times yours." The screen shows he's an awakened villain with the mechanic attribute, main skills, gear, gear break, radiance, merge, maximum mana, mana 1,100. "Hey, can you hear me?" It shouted excitedly. Cassian touched his chin and shouted, "This fight is going to be fun." Back in the moment, it looked at Cassian and asked, "Are you that confident?" Driver raised his screwdriver and laughed. "Well done, you blocked my attack." With a grin, he swung his weapon. "Seems I was too easy on you." Then Driver swung his screwdriver fiercely at Cassian. "Let's try again." Cassian looked straight ahead cautiously. As Driver struck hard, Cassian jumped back to dodge. He kept retreating to avoid the continuous attacks. Driver didn't give up and chased after with his weapon. His constant attacks were easily dodged by Cassian. Driver gritted his teeth, cursing inwardly. This brat. Seeing Cassian dodge easily made him angry. No way. Can he predict my moves? What's with this guy? Driver slammed the ground hard, but Cassian dodged. His skills are unreal. How could I not know this? He jumped up with a screwdriver. Wait. Driver eyed Cassian and thought, Is this the guy who defeated Blaster? He quickly raised his hand to block Driver's strike. Driver was shocked by what he saw. He was amazed that Cassian could leave scratches on his weapon. He frowned and tightly gripped the top of the screwdriver. Driver's eyes glowed bright red. From his eyes, 2 blood-red beams shot out. Suddenly, Cassian kicked Driver's leg. Driver flew backward and crashed down. He gritted his teeth and quickly twisted around. Damn, he's crazy. He stared at Driver rushing in and shouted, "Are you a professional fighter?" Driver grabbed his screwdriver from behind and leaped forward quickly. Purple energy circles swiftly gathered together. He raised his fist, aiming straight at Cassian using the skill gear cutter. Driver's fist lunged straight at Cassian, who was also charging in. Cassian's eyes flashed blue as he used his skill. Dark energy surged straight toward Driver. A streak of dark energy shot through Driver's fist. Driver was startled, his face filled with disbelief. Cassian immediately leaped up, ready to punch down. He punched with such force that Driver was sent flying backward. He gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, this guy isn't joking around, his fighting style is different. Driver stared at Cassian, wondering how he could be this good in combat, unless he had professional training. Suddenly, a light appeared, asking, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Both Cassian and Moros were startled and stopped. Right after that, 3 figures appeared behind Driver. An A-rank villain summoner with dark attributes, Crow, smiled as he appeared. Then a B-rank villain archer with light attributes, Red Eye, also arrived. Blackhand shouted as he appeared next to Cassian. A B-rank villain assassin with metal attributes. Blackhand smiled and asked, "What are you doing?" "You're being too gentle with him." Cassian saw that he was surrounded by these people on both sides. He smirked and asked, "Couldn't handle it on your own, so you called in the reinforcements?" Crow looked over in shock. "Boss, did you get defeated?" Driver replied, "Not really. I haven't been defeated yet." She smiled and said, "Seems like you've actually been defeated." He shouted back, "I told you I haven't been defeated." Blackhand was surprised and exclaimed, "Defeated?" He stared at Cassian, questioning. "He got defeated by that amateur screwdriver." Driver looked calm and asked, "Why are you suddenly picking a fight with me?" Crow and Reddy also turned their gaze to Cassian. Cassian calmly explained, "Because I want to fight someone strong." He then shouted at the opponent, "Besides, I can't let a villain keep killing people randomly like that." Driver placed the screwdriver on his shoulder and looked over in doubt. He asked in confusion randomly, "Are you talking about that infamous serial killer?" Crow patted Driver's shoulder, saying, "There's nothing wrong with taking down that murderer, right?" He was still confused, asking, "Are you saying I'm that murderer?" She immediately laughed and confirmed, "Yes, it's you." Driver let out a cold laugh, yelling, "A huge crime suddenly fell on me. What cruel jerk spread that rumor?" Blackhand stared at Cassian, wondering who is he to act so cocky in front of Screwdriver. He clenched his fist, thinking, "I want to take him out right now." Driver shouted in Cassian's direction, "Let's get straight to the point. I'm not the murderer you're looking for." Cassian immediately asked, "Do you have any proof?" He responded, "Frankly, no." Suddenly, Cassian was startled, thinking of a possibility. That means he could very well be the murderer. Cassian stood still, shocked. Blackhand narrowed his eyes, growling. Now he raised his hand, gathering energy, and struck from behind Cassian, saying, "You'll die by my hand, you arrogant jerk." Blackhand charged at Cassian with determination. He carried a murderous intent and was ready with a dangerous move. He gritted his teeth, unleashing the death blow combo. All he could think of was ending it. The attack landed, shattering the ground and sending debris flying everywhere. Cassian coldly remarked, saying it was typical of filthy villains like them. Blackhand was stunned to see that Cassian was unharmed. Cassian casually asked if their trademark was to attack from behind. Suddenly, Blackhand's face twisted, disfigured as he screamed in pain. The death blow combo still lingered, but had no effect. Cassian forcefully said that this is what people like Blackhand deserve. As blood splattered like fireworks, Crow let out a surprised sound. Reddy remained silent. Meanwhile, Driver smirked at him. Blackhand was sent flying several meters by Cassian's punch. Driver mockingly asked if that was necessary. He was still shaken. Reddy thought, no way, he beat the third-ranked person in the villain territory. Moros anxiously asked Cassian if he was okay. He guessed that Cassian was feeling dizzy, right? At that moment, Driver's glasses lit up with numbers running across. He laughed and explained that Cassian's magical power was less than 300, yet it suddenly surged beyond. Crow questioned, was his magic power really only 300? Redeem angrily stated, just 300? That would make him a rank D. He was confused, asking how a low rank D could do this. He continued to doubt, feeling very upset that Blackhand's magical power was far beyond a rank B's, yet he was defeated in just one blow. Driver slowly said, no need to be shocked. Although rare, A B rank can sometimes beat an A rank. Reddy sat next to Blackhand, looking up. He continued, saying that magical power isn't the only factor determining victory. As he explained, he recalled the recent battle, noting Cassian's exceptional speed and physical strength, along with effective combat skills surpassing Blackhand's capabilities. Listening to this, Reddy thought he was an exception mechanically, like a perfectly optimized high-grade machine. Driver suddenly took out a magic stone. He held it up and asked, "You know what this is, right?" Cassian stared without blinking and quickly recognized it in his mind. A magic stone. Driver added that a villain could increase their magical power through harsh training or by using a magic stone. With that, Driver tossed the stone to Cassian. He told him to use it. Cassian questioned why he was given it, and Driver arrogantly said, with his hands in his pockets, that he wanted a deal. Cassian, with no emotion, replied he wasn't interested. He continued saying he couldn't stand injustice, referring to the mass murder case, to which Driver said he wanted Cassian to capture the perpetrator for him. Driver added that he had given Cassian a magic stone for this deal, and Cassian was free to accept or decline it. Cassian said, "It seems you're not really that killer." And the other replied jokingly, "Of course not. I sensed something was off." Cassian coldly asked why he didn't find the person himself if things felt wrong, and Driver laughed as if he'd heard a funny story. He replied, "Everyone has their unspoken burdens." Cassian wore a serious expression, deep in thought. Meanwhile, the other person just smiled, with his lips pressed together. Leaving the battlefield, Cassian walked with Moros on the streets as the sun began to change colors. Looking at the magic stone in his hand, he wondered, "He wants me to swallow this." The stone explained that there are two types of magic stones, those occurring naturally, called yin-yang stones, and human-made ones called magic stones. The difference between them is like night and day, Moros said regretfully. "It's a pity it's not a yin-yang stone, but this one will significantly increase your magical power," Cassian replied. "I know that," the stone added. "Magic stones should be used when you're in the villain's awakened state." Cassian silently looked at the stone. The magic stone sparkled in his hand. His once white hand transformed into a jet black color, indicating the awakening of the villain. He asked again, "Are you sure this is a magic stone?" It confirmed, "I am sure." Cassian hesitated, not taking action. He brought it to his mouth, saying, "Jeff always reminded me not to." And as he swallowed it, he said, "Eat something harmful." After swallowing it, nothing happened, and he looked at himself confused. Cassian said, "Nothing's changed. I don't feel any different." Moros patiently said, "Just wait." Shortly after, something began to stir. A dark power appeared. It surrounded him, and Cassian asked, "What the heck is this?" Moros quickly reassured him, "Calm down, just stay calm." His eyes widened. Beneath him were now faint glowing patterns. They gradually enveloped Cassian until they turned into a massive, terrifying column of power. It was visible even from afar. He hesitated, thinking, "My magical power has increased." Cassian stared blankly at his hands, feeling the surge of power he had just absorbed. He was bewildered, thinking that just swallowing one magical stone could bring such a noticeable change. Cassian thought to himself, now he understood why villains were so interested in magical stones. It seemed like cheating. He called out, "Moros, can you check my status through your special eyes?" The sky slowly changed color. It was getting dark. Cassian shouted in surprise, "What? A magic point of 350? When the status board listed villain Kang Woo special attribute of transforming into a disaster level villain, dark attribute activating the transformation of rage, main skill, dark sword, self-re-ovary, hidden skill, extracting magical stones, magic stat 350. He couldn't believe his eyes as he said, "No way. Look at that massive change, but only increased by 50 points. Moros repeated in his mind, "Only 50. He thought even swallowing the best magical stone would only increase magic points by 5 to 10. Moros didn't share his thoughts with him. If it increased by 50 points, that was the highest ever, an increase of 500%. It meant the magical stone was truly effective. He continued thinking. It had an effect even on someone at disaster level. Suddenly, Cassian pointed at something on the screen and asked, "What's this?" He said, "The hidden skill is showing up now. It says extracting magical stones on the information board. It's displayed as activating the transformation of rage, main skill, dark sword, self-re-ovary, hidden skill, extracting magical stones, magic stat 350. He cluelessly asked, "How do I use this?" "Extracting magical stones," Moros slowly explained. "More precisely," he added, "separating magical stones from weapons, including weapons made from yin-yang stones." Cassian, hearing that, was not pleased. He rubbed his head regretfully, saying, "I thought a hidden skill would be cool and all, but it's like crap. So disappointing." Moros was taken aback and repeated, "Like crap." He said, "Maybe only you can do this. It means you can create as many magical stones as you like." He hesitantly asked, "Then where do I find weapons made from magical stones?" Meanwhile, on the street at a sweet shop, Daewon Lee happily held a dazzling yellow sword in his hand. He admired it and joyfully said, "Finally, it's mine, my own sword. It has an outstanding name. It's the Great Bear and Crouching Tiger Sword." He urged Wu Chan to say something, who nonchalantly replied, "A nice sword." Dong, not pleased, countered, "This is my most cherished sword here, not something lifeless like that." Daewon Lee kept boasting about the treasure in his hand, made from 2 magical stones, least outstanding quality. "This is the top-of-the-line sword," Wu Chan impatiently reminded. "Let's set aside the sword for now." He directly asked, "Do you have any new information about the villain who fought Blaster?" He softly said, "This guy, look at you changing the subject." Daewon Lee started, "I've searched the data, but there is no information about him. Maybe he's a newly awakened villain." Wu Chan asked, "Could it be he's an undiscovered psycho?" He answered, "Doesn't seem like it. Judging by looks and characteristics, he's definitely a villain." Daewon pointed and added, "Now's not the time to worry about someone like him." They were so engrossed in their conversation that they didn't notice the whispers from the nearby table. "Is that really Daewon Lee? His red hair is so attractive." "Over here," Daewon Lee asked, with a serious tone. "You've heard about the serial killer, right? The Gatam District Task Force is on red alert because of him." Wu Chan crossed his arms, leaned back, and replied, "Wasn't Screwdriver the killer? They've said he's the main suspect." He barely finished his sentence when he was quickly interrupted. "Not him." Wu Chan looked skeptical thoughtfully at him. He asked again, "How are you so sure?" Daewon Lee confidently answered, "If it were a high-end sports car or some electronic device, he'd be curious and try it right away." He gave his own guess. "He's far from a killer," Wu Chan coldly said. "Screwdriver is a villain after all. He's still a crazy guy with unpredictable actions." Daewon Lee leisurely took a sip of tea. He casually shared his thoughts. "Considering the recent cold-hearted serial murders, it's highly likely the work of a villain," but he repeatedly questioned back, "Do you think only villains are crazy troublemakers? It could very well be an ordinary person." Wu Chan briefly thought of Cassian, reflecting on Daewon Lee's words. Suddenly he excitedly asked, "By the way, your model sister, you said she's a first-year high school student, right?" He replied, "I've set a curfew for her." Daewon Lee said, "That's good." He enthusiastically warned, "It's best to be careful until they catch the serial killer." Wu Chan didn't respond. At Ace Studio, the lights and various other equipment were all set up. Jeff raised his camera, guiding the models to strike a pose, a bit cute, a bit sassy. The 2 girls quickly followed his instructions until he said, "That's good, all right." Then they stopped, and he complimented them with satisfaction, saying they did well. After the shoot, the pink-haired girl walked home alone. She glanced at her phone's clock in panic. "Damn it, it's already 7 o'clock, she said sadly, planning to buy something before heading home, but now there's no time. Kim Naeun, a 10th grade student at Seo High School and younger sister of Kim Woo Chan, Nan said, "I wanted to buy that limited edition bottle when an unintentional sigh caught her ears, making her instinctively turn to look." And Minyoung, also a 10th grade student at COA High School. She asked Minyoung, "Are you still here?" Minyoung hesitantly replied, "Naeun." Nan gazed with a face full of curiosity. Minyoung still couldn't explain. She suddenly affectionately wrapped her arm around Naeun's and called, "Nan." Minyoung cheerfully suggested, "Let's go play the claw machine." Naeun asked back, "Right now?" Minyoung then replied, "It's been so long since we've played. Let's go." Naeun wondered, "How long has it been?" Minyoung tugged on her arm and pleaded, "Come on, just one round." She refused, saying, "I can't. My brother set a curfew." She persistently said, "Come on." Finally, Naeun relented and agreed, saying, "Just one round." Minyoung responded excitedly, "All right, all right." They walked away, unaware that someone was secretly watching them. In the darkness, the person's eyes glowed, revealing a dangerous and sinister intention. In a high-rise building, the latest newspaper reports that the serial killer would definitely be caught, and a special force has been set up to ease the fears of the people in Gatam District. Cassian sighed and worriedly said, 3 people are dead already." Moros asked with keen interest, "Are you thinking about Screwdriver's offer?" He slowly replied, "His offer doesn't bother me, but this killer is cold-blooded. I can't just sit and do nothing about that bastard." Moros remained silent, saying nothing. He moved the mouse and said, "Without knowing the motive, it's hard to find the killer." The computer screen showed a map of Gatam District with red dots. He said, "There's no information except that all the murders happened in Gatam District." Moros asked, "What about what you received from Screwdriver?" Cassian vaguely asked, "What thing?" At an abandoned building, Cassian asked, "Why give me this? We need a way to communicate." Driver laughed and replied, "I made it just to send and receive messages. There's no GPS tracker in it, so don't worry." He coldly replied, "I don't need it." Driver casually said, I'll also send you information about the killer through this, Driver added, and of course, you can freely message me anytime. He confidently stated, I will support you with a full option, so make sure to catch the killer, he added. That's a requirement. Cassian looked seriously at the phone screen, pondering something. He was deep in thought for a long time. He pressed his hand on the screen. His eyes showed clear contemplation. Cassian slammed the phone on the table and directly refused, saying, I can't do it. After saying that, he turned and left angrily, saying, I have my pride too. How can I exchange information with a villain? Moros frantically called out, Where are you going? He replied, I can't just sit still. Cassian turned back and said, If the brain isn't working, at least the feet should be. Welcome to the public video game. An excited voice rang out, Got it. Minyoung excitedly said, Just a little more and you'll have it. While Nayeon intensely focused on the stuffed bear, Minyoung shouted, No. The bear fell down, and she said sadly, What a shame. Nayeon regretfully said, I can't even get one. How is that possible? Try again, but I have to go now, she asked. Really? But it's not even 8 o'clock yet. Outside, a drone with a camera was recording the actions of the two girls through the glass. Nayeon irritably replied, I already told you my annoying brother set a curfew. Minyoung knew she couldn't hold her back any longer, and stood there gloomily. She asked, Can't you stay a little longer? Nayeon found it strange and asked, What's wrong with you? Minyoung bit her lip. Not replying immediately, she hesitated and said, Actually, I've seen that thing. That thing? She fearfully recounted, You know, a girl from our school was murdered a few days ago, right? Minyoung added, I've seen that thing. Nayeon asked in shock, What? Minyoung said confusedly, I want to tell someone, but I'm really scared. She trembled and said, It feels like it will happen to me too. She worriedly asked if he had seen him, and Minyoung nodded. Nayeon quickly grabbed her hand and said, Now's not the time to go into detail. She didn't hesitate to say, It's not too late. We should go to the police station right away. I'll go with you. After saying that, she pulled Minyoung's hand and urged, Hurry up. If you've seen the killer, then both you and I are in danger. Suddenly, the door closed. Nayeon and Minyoung stopped confused. She said loudly, What's going on? Why is the door closed? Suddenly, the lights went out, and the room was immediately plunged into darkness. Minyoung asked, Who turned off the lights? Suddenly, Nayeon turned her head back. Her mind was shocked at the thought of blood, as a stream of bright red blood flowed beneath her feet. A voice like a deathly demon echoed deeply, We meet again. They both turned to look. The blood was increasing, swirling across the floor. It started to gather. Minyoung screamed in fear. Blood Rain smiled savagely and said, Poor child. Outside, Cassian was standing on top of a tall building, looking down at the street. Moros couldn't help but complain, What's the point of wandering around like this? He coldly replied, If you like complaining, go home. It quickly responded, Even if I wanted to, I can't. I have to stay within a limited range beside you. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rang. Cassian dazedly pressed the button to answer. What? Moros asked. Isn't that the phone Screwdriver gave you? It bluntly exposed him. Didn't you leave it behind because of your pride? Cassian opened the message and said, If he sends something random, I'll throw it away immediately. After reading, his eyes widened. The image of Nayeon and Minyoung cowering in fear appeared. Along with it was Blood Rain's terrifying smile. Nayeon stood silently in the public arcade, her eyes fixed on him. Behind her, Minyoung, trembling, covered her mouth with a shaky hand, making Nan angrily think that he was truly a villain. She guessed that he must be the brutal murderer that Minyoung accidentally saw before. Minyoung fearfully whispered, asking what they should do now. In the moment of crisis, she suddenly remembered the item Wu-chan had given her, and quickly grabbed it. She recalled how Nayeon had asked in confusion what it was, and he had gently explained that it was a panic alarm. He had hurriedly warned her not to push it, just for fun. Wu-chan had sternly instructed her to press it if there was danger, promising that he would come find her immediately, which kept Nayeon staring at it. Back in the present, she secretly hid her hand to press that life-saving button. Nayeon prayed silently, hoping this wasn't a joke, wishing he'd arrive quickly. By now, the sky had started to darken. Blood Rain reached out, speaking in a gruff voice, saying, They look tired. He grinned wickedly, saying, Pity creatures, I'll give you a gift, eternal sleep. But she wasn't scared, and shouted back, Shut up, you madman. Blood Rain stopped laughing, squinting, as if to see her more clearly. Nayeon flipped him the middle finger, and loudly mocked, Eternal sleep sounds more fitting for you, keep it for yourself. He growled in anger, calling her a disrespectful brat. Blood Rain started to take slow steps toward the two of them. Nayeon worriedly thought she needed to buy time until her brother arrived. She hesitantly asked why he was doing this. He suddenly fell silent, ignoring her question. Blood Rain replied, Why such a question? Do I need a reason to pursue what I enjoy? she cursed inwardly, thinking he was talking nonsense. Truly a sick person. He put his bloody hands to his mouth and coldly said, "However, I'll answer your naive question." As he spoke, he became more excited. His urge to kill them grew stronger, with the taste of fresh blood and dismembered bodies. Blood Rain casually mentioned, "Those are the most wonderful things existing in this world." As he spoke, taking another step forward, making Naeun scream in fear. "Don't come here. I warn you, one more step and you're done," she declared. "My brother will be here any moment now." Naeun continued to threaten, saying he was strong enough to take him down in just 3 seconds. He heard and smirked mockingly. He asked, "Is your powerful brother coming? You're a damn brat." Thinking her words worked, she responded, "Yes, if you're scared, run away now." Blood Rain slowly said, "Well, then how will your brother feel seeing this?" He laughed, saying, "A bloodless corpse of his sister," as a blood orb formed in his hand. They were both bewildered, not knowing what to do, he added. But first, Naeun was stunned. Her eyes widened in horror. A blood sword suddenly shot straight towards her. But ironically, the one who got stabbed was Minyoung. Her blood splattered instantly, and Minyoung fell to the ground. Fresh blood splattered on Anowen's face, onto her shocked eyes. Naeun screamed, "Minyoung!" She rushed over to lift Minyoung up, frantically, calling, "Minyoung, get up!" Her mouth kept shouting, "No, Minyoung!" "Ah, and Minyoung." Naeun looked at him in pain, and Blood Rain said, "Now it's your turn." He continued to control the blood sword, laughed and said, "This is a little sweet gift for your brother." She was utterly terrified. So she closed her eyes tightly, resigning to wait for the death that was about to fall upon her. Suddenly a loud shout rang out, "You bastard," making Naeun open her eyes wide. A mysterious dark figure rushed in with incredible speed. She turned her head and looked up. Blood Rain was so shocked he stood frozen in place. Cassian, in the form of a villain, appeared and boldly declared, "Here's a gift for you." The cold killing intent in his eyes surged like ocean waves. As he launched his move, he said in a steely voice, "Try this one." A direct punch aimed straight at the spot where the man stood. The man couldn't react in time and was strongly knocked back, but Blood Rain quickly regained his balance. Cassian leaped high, intending to use another deadly move to finish him off. The man swiftly reached out, trying to counterattack, leaving him stunned, unable to believe what he saw. As a result, Cassian was also knocked back by the force. He was flung several meters away, but stood firm and did not fall. He looked down in surprise at his arm, which was tingling. Blood Rain was also surprised by the situation. He wondered, who is this kid? Is the strong brother she mentioned actually a villain? Naeun also wondered, thinking, who is he? Meanwhile, Cassian remained silent, just standing there watching. Blood Rain squinted deep in thought. He wondered, he'd never seen such skills before, and this person was new to him. Suddenly he realized, wait a minute, is he the one who defeated Blaster? He thought to himself, and now he's watching me. This is going to be interesting. Blood Rain, in a good mood, said, "Today, I'll spare you, but don't think it's over." Cassian was shocked, staring at him in panic. As he watched Blood Rain slowly vanish into a pool of blood, leaving behind a promise, "You'll die by my hand," Naeun mumbled. "Death," he added, "a sweet death." Cassian, angry, rushed forward, yelling, "Stop! Do you think you can run?" But he was too late. He could only touch the remaining drops of blood. Cassian reached out, trying to grab. By now, Blood Rain had completely disappeared. He let out a frustrated huff. Cassian ran to the door, annoyed, saying, "Damn it, he's gone." Naeun thought he was leaving and quickly called out, "Hey, don't go," she said, "I need your help." Seeing him still, showing no sign of moving forward, she pleaded, "Please save my friend, please." Darkness now covered every corner of Gatam district. A hesitant voice mixed with worry spoke up. "Emergency bell." The car rolled down the deserted road. The person continued to ask, could she have pressed it by mistake? Wu Chan looked at the phone screen, speaking non-stop. "If so, she would have called me back. She's not someone to joke about such things." Daewon replied, "Got it." He added, "I also informed the police in that area. They must be arriving soon." He sincerely hoped in his heart, please let her be safe. At the public arcade, Cassian was calling emergency services. "Someone is seriously injured here. Please send an ambulance as soon as possible." He told Naeun, "The ambulance is on its way. We should stop the bleeding first." "Do you have a handkerchief or something to tie the wound with?" she stammered. "Yes." She turned to rummage through her bag, muttering, "Something elastic. It can only be this." Naeun pulled it out and said, "This thing." Cassian didn't know what it was. He asked, "What the heck is this?" She explained, "A stocking. It has good elasticity." The long stocking was wrapped around Minyoung's waist, helping to stop the bleeding. Cassian spoke to Moros. "Can you check this girl's condition?" It responded. "You want me to check the injury? That's simple. No need for divine sight for this." Moros quickly checked. Its pitch-black eyes suddenly lit up. A moment later, it said the wound isn't life-threatening. Nain sighed with relief. That's good, yet she still asked worriedly, "Will Minyoung be okay?" Cassian replied gently, "If she gets emergency care in time, she'll be okay." She asked again, "Really?" He reassured her, "They'll arrive soon." After saying that, Cassian stood up. He told Nain, "I've done the first aid. The rest is up to the doctors," she replied. "Thank you." Watching him leave, Nain couldn't help but ask, "Are you leaving now?" He turned back and answered, "Of course, I need to hunt down that villain who ran off." She looked at him with gratitude. Nain was left there alone. Her eyes followed Cassian until he completely disappeared. Cassian was now furiously chasing Blood Rain. Moros said, "Those kids got lucky. If you hadn't arrived in time, they would have been dead." Suddenly, he noticed something strange on the rooftop of another tall building. He quickly dashed over and landed safely. Cassian said coldly, "That annoying thing has been bothering me for a while." He wondered, "What is that?" A pair of black gloves appeared, along with many feathers falling gently. His eyes showed a brief hesitation. He looked toward where Crow was standing. She happily waved, saying, "We've met again, we've met again." Crow asked, "Do you remember me? It's annoying." "This annoyance is enough for me to kill you." Cassian stayed silent because he was busy thinking. "It's the person from earlier," he said. "I just met you a few hours ago. How could I forget so quickly?" She laughed. "Thanks for remembering me," Crow asked. "Have I introduced myself yet?" She continued. "I'm Raven." "A name that suits me, right?" Crow added. "And you are?" Cassian replied. "I don't have a name," she laughed and asked. "So you don't have a name or nickname that fits?" Cassian, losing patience, said, "Why bother with names? Let's get to the main point." Crow silently judged him. "Truly one of a kind," then said, "Screwdriver uses these machines to hunt for the murderer in places where he can complete it." Cassian asked, "Through it, you know the location?" She answered, "Yes." Crow continued, "Thanks to that, we know who the murderer is." Cassian coldly asked, "You know the killer?" She replied, "He's Blood Rain. He's wandering across this country, committing savage murders." Crow said grimly, "I've suspected him as the killer for a long time, but he's troublesome. He's genuinely hard to track, so I couldn't be sure." She said, "Moreover, there are a few internal issues too." Mid-sentence, Crow suddenly turned and warned him, "Forget what I just said, or I'll kill you with a skewer." He thought to himself, "This woman is something else." Suddenly, she turned to the camera and blew a kiss, then said passionately, "But I don't want to do anything that upsets Screwdriver." Meanwhile, Driver was busy looking for popcorn. "Where's the popcorn? I remember putting it somewhere around here." Crow suddenly remembered. She said, "Screwdriver told me to give this to you. He said he'll explain everything once the deal is done." The box was handed to Cassian with a firm demand. "Take it," Cassian questioned. "What the heck is this?" She replied, "A promised reward for you." He opened the box. Inside were 3 neatly arranged magic stones. He thought to himself, "Magic stones?" He assessed them in his mind. They're all the best types. The next morning, the news was buzzing with reports that around 8 p.m. yesterday, the suspected serial killer struck again. The anchor continued. Fortunately, clergymen arrived at the scene right after being informed, and no casualties occurred. Details were also shared. A high school girl is being treated at the hospital. Thankfully, her injuries aren't life-threatening. Yuri silently thanked heaven. Kang Woo stood watching for a while before opening the door to leave. She asked, "Are you going to school?" He replied, "Yes." Yuri, worried, reminded him, "Kwon Kang Woo, be careful." Woo answered, "Yes, I will." The scene shifts outside. As he walked, he thought, "I've been in Kang Woo's body for a while now." He told himself, "I need to get stronger to take revenge on Lampus," with extra emphasis on those last 3 words. Looking at Moros behind him, he wondered how much he could trust this strange thing. Kang Woo thought that the agreement he made with those in the villainous area was also making him tense. The moon had risen high. Cassian questioned skeptically, "You gave me 3 top-tier magic stones." His claw touched them in his hand. Picking one up, Cassian asked Crow, "And this is just part of the promise?" She laughed and asked back. "Not enough," he replied. "It's actually a bit much," Crow said. "I think so too." She then said, "But that guy is strong. With your current magical power, you won't be able to take him down," he confidently replied. "It'll be fine," she added. "There's also a micro GPS tracking device made by Screwdriver. You can use it when you want." Before leaving, Crow reminded him, "Screwdriver has also made a list of places Blood Rain has appeared. Open the file to check it out." She bluntly stated, "To be honest, I don't have much expectation from you." But Crow hesitated and said, "If you disappoint Screwdriver, then lifted her head and asked with a smile, Do you understand? Understood what she meant. Woo, still walking on the street, wondered what are they up to. Moros quickly reminded him, this is not the way to school, he replied. A place to go, sighed thinking he's skipping school. Woo said softly, reviewing the data. That Screwdriver sent high school is a place worth noting. He kept making his deductions. The two girls being followed by the villain yesterday also attend Seaway High School. There's definitely a clue around here. Moros asked, are you going to wander around this area and ask about him? He calmly answered, if necessary, I have to, though something else is drawing my attention. Kang Woo hesitated and said, the pink-haired girl yesterday. He knew she's the sister of the apprentice psyker at our school. Suddenly, he remembered and said, first, I need to call school and take a leave. Kang Woo made up an excuse. Hello, this is Kang Woo. I'm quite sick with a cold today, so I need to stay home and rest. While Moros was beside him, speechless at a hospital in the hospital corridor, Wu-chan was sitting silently. Suddenly, someone called out, Wu-chan. Daewon called out in a panic. Did you stay up all night? He softly said, Senior. He sat down next to him and asked about Naeun. He replied, she just fell asleep. He asked him, did you see the report on the incident? Wu-chan answered, I saw it. Daewon Lee spoke softly. It's very hard to check the surveillance camera records because they were destroyed, but from the report, it's easy to recognize that the killer is Blood Rain, he continued. According to Blood Rain's file, he drinks the victims' blood without damaging their bodies, but the victims found in Gatam district were all dismembered. Daewon Lee, holding his face, said tiredly, so we've ruled him out as a suspect. I can't believe it's him, he sighed in relief. Wu-chan said, the villain saved Naeun and Minyoung. He asked, it seems like it's the guy from last time, right? He fell into thought. Wu-chan hesitated, saying, Naeun said he's a savior. He went on, if he's a villain, he should be a crazed lunatic, but he saved everyone, including my sister. He asked, confused, what the hell are all these events? That's what I'm thinking too. He kept asking. He even fought with Blaster. Who the hell is this guy? Wu-chan seemed to have the same question. The hot cup of coffee kept steaming there at COA High School. Kang Woo crossed his arms, watching two schoolgirls chatting. It really happened. His eyes didn't leave their backs for a moment. Moros said, you've come a long way skipping school to get here. At a convenience store, hands were grabbing a can of Coke. At the cashier, two other schoolgirls stood, and one asked, are you a model? The cashier guy, feeling shy, replied, no, I told you I'm not. I'm just an ordinary student. The infatuated girl asked, you're so handsome. What school do you go to? He asked, why do you want to know that? Kang Woo came over and said, I want to take this. He quickly got to work and said, sure, I'll print the receipt for you right here. The guy squinted his eyes, smiling pleasantly. In the convenience store at the corner, customers were coming and going non-stop. Inside, the employee rang up a soda. The employee checked the receipt and said, the total is 30.21. Kang Woo pulled out his wallet, ready to hand over his credit card. He suddenly noticed a book titled The Bride of Corinth. Kang Woo stared at it, gradually drawn in. The employee didn't pay much attention and kept packing items into a bag. From outside, an elderly man walked in and quietly asked if he could take the scrap paper. The employee quickly responded, yes, please wait a moment, and I'll bring it out for you. The man politely replied, thank you. The employee hurriedly carried the stack of scrap paper and accidentally bumped into Kang Woo. Kang Woo realized something and turned to look at the employee. The employee politely turned to Kang Woo and quickly said, I'm sorry. Moros hovered nearby, keeping an eye on the employee. Kang Woo didn't say anything, just stood in the store, watching the employee courteously deal with the elderly man. After a while, he walked outside as if nothing had happened. Moros quickly flew after, quietly, calling Kang Woo. Cassian. It flew slowly behind him and hesitantly said, there's something I need to tell you. Kang Woo immediately asked, he's a villain, isn't he? Moros was surprised that he already knew. Kang Woo expressed his doubts. When I looked into that guy's eyes, I already knew. Moros was a bit hesitant and said, but I'm not sure if he's Blood Rain. Kang Woo talked about the book, The Bride of Corinth. He recalled the strange book that had been on the table. Kang Woo said, it's a classic piece about vampires. He tried to remember the content. You will enjoy a sweet death. You will die by my hand. Kang Woo walked slowly, taking out the can of drink he bought. You'll die by my hand. I've heard this somewhere before. Probably a quote from the novel. Moros praised Kang Woo's observation skills. It's amazing that you remember things like that, he modestly replied. I used to read a few books in the orphanage. Kang Woo opened the can, taking a long, refreshing sip. After quenching his thirst, he enthusiastically said, let's quickly check out the target we've been tracking, see if it's him. Back at the convenience store on the same street earlier, The employee was standing on the street, no longer wearing the store uniform. Kang Woo and Moros quietly stood from a distance, watching him walk away. They followed the employee to a familiar neighborhood. The employee realized someone was tailing him, but he didn't confront Kang Woo, just silently walked, leaving him wondering, isn't this the way to Sailway Girls High School? Kang Woo decided to follow all the way, wondering, where is this guy going? From afar, Kang Woo saw a car losing control and coming his way. He looked around and saw the old man who collected scrap, looking dazed. Because of his age, the old man's eyes couldn't see clearly what was coming. Kang Woo quickly ran over and grabbed the old man, getting them both out of the car's path. The out-of-control car crashed hard into the curb. Kang Woo kindly asked the old man, "Are you okay?" He suddenly realized something strange and quickly turned to look for the convenience store employee. But strangely, the employee had vanished without a trace. Moros and Kang Woo looked at each other. He knew his suspicion was correct. Kang Woo didn't leave, but chose to head to a secluded place. He looked around the street for a while. Moros, surprised, said he couldn't believe Kang Woo picked such a place to transform. Kang Woo explained that there were no roofs nearby to access. He took out a magic stone and decided, I need to use this first. In the small room, a bright light shone fiercely. Golden light surrounded Kang Woo, dazzling. Moros watched him transform. Then Kang Woo ordered, Moros, use your divine eye to check the information. Moros immediately followed his order and displayed the information screen. Kang Woo looked at it, noting, I have these two new skills, Shadow Stealth and Shadow Image. Moros explained that increasing magic points helped develop skills he possessed. He thought to himself, do I just need to increase magic points to get new skills? Kang Woo recalled his past life as a psyker when he could only get strong through training. He looked at the displayed scores, surprised. The magic points are only 470. How could that be? I used 3 magic stones. Why only 120 points? Moros clearly explained. Your body might have developed resistance against magic crystals, so next time using another magic stone, it'll decrease more. Over time you'll notice only small changes. Kang Woo was silent, staring at the system screen. He remembered the arrogant driver and Crow muttering, if someone could get strong just by magic stones, he wouldn't have given them to me. Kang Woo focused on analyzing the information, thinking, it means I can't just rely on magic stones to get stronger. I should think of other methods, like training or something. Then he looked up and said to Moros, Moros, show me blood rain stats. It reminded Kang Woo, you've used it twice already today. If you use it a third time, he interrupted Moros, I know already. Moros had to comply with Kang Woo displaying blood rain stats. He looked at the screen, discovering something. Snow sword. Is that what we saw yesterday? Kang Woo sharply analyzed, realizing its attributes relate to the mind. Moros agreed with him. Yes, its attributes relate to mind control. He looked at the text and mumbled, hypnosis. Kang Woo was gradually impressed by this name, silently saying, this is not easy at all. In the afternoon, the scene shifted to a hospital building in Seoul. Inside the hospital, there were fewer people now. A nurse walked back and forth inside, seemingly about to end her shift. In a hospital room, a faint red light quietly enveloped the entire space. The flickering red aura seemed hypnotic to onlookers. On the ceiling, Blood Rain used an enchanting voice to gather all the patients together, commanding, become my loyal subjects. Wavering shadows surrounded them, creating an illusion. The guy was satisfied watching those puppets greedily enticing, bring your children here. Evening came, casting a desolate feel over the hospital grounds. Since it was twilight, only a few night shift staff remained at the hospital. Nain sat by Minyoung's hospital bed, fiddling with her phone. She was intensely searching for information about someone, but couldn't find it. Feeling regret that it's still not him, resting her chin in her hand, she wondered quietly, who could he possibly be? Suddenly, someone appeared behind her, calling out, Nain. Startled, Nain turned to the person who said Minyoung needs to undergo some health tests now, to which she hesitantly asked, right now? A doctor and a nurse with lifeless expressions urged her, saying it was crucial, and asked if she could stand in as a guardian and accompany her. Nain was surprised and asked, meet? The doctor didn't respond, only gave her a mysterious smile. Somewhere near the hospital, a strong dark energy radiated from a street corner. Kang Woo flitted through the different blocks. He swiftly moved from place to place. Kang Woo reached the rooftop of a tall building. Scanning quickly, finding nothing unusual, he moved to another location. Instantly, Kang Woo teleported to the hospital where Nain was. He thought to himself, I can connect Black Shadow and Black Stealth, then use them together. Moros suddenly stopped Kang Woo, saying, that's not a good idea, just as he was about to cast a spell to activate the link. Moros reminded Kang Woo, on the way I noticed your use of magic is very strong. You should use it more cautiously. There you go, complaining again. Kang Woo's phone rang, displaying a warning. It was then he admitted to Moros, seems like it. Kang Woo looked at his phone, then back at the hospital ahead, saying, I think I've used too much, but that damn blood rain is really targeting the hospital where that girl was admitted yesterday. He sighed, recalling the collision, grateful for having the foresight to attach a GPS on him. The image of Neon tearing up then came to Kang Woo's mind. This made him more determined to capture blood rain. Right away, Kang Woo pinpointed his location and quickly set off. Kang Woo teleported, dragging Moros along. Hurry up. Meanwhile, Neon was led by the doctor to the basement parking lot. Minyoung lay unconscious on a stretcher, causing Naon to worriedly ask, Can I ask something? She looked anxiously at the nurses. Why take a patient to an ambulance for a health check? They were busy loading Minyoung into the ambulance, ignoring Ninyun, saying, This is a very important test that can't be done at the hospital, she asked in confusion. What does that mean? Blood Rain revealed himself, saying to her, Because this is a test of loyalty. He stood right behind Neon, giving her a savage smile. Blood Rain threatened Neon. Nice to meet you again. You'll die in my embrace. Neon immediately sensed the danger. She quickly reacted, shouting at the evil doctors, Run! But they didn't react as Neon did, leaving her puzzled. Their expressions were blank, lacking any life. Blood Rain overpowered Neon with his presence, saying, They only follow my orders. The guy stepped forward and lifted Neon's chin, teasing her fear. He said he could turn her into a puppet like the others. He looked into Neon's determined eyes. Realizing it didn't work, Neon tried to control her fear, quietly, remembering every word from Blood Rain. Unaware he was being played, he arrogantly praised Neon, saying her will was strong and she overcame human fear and terror. He saw something in Neon, saying she would be perfect as his bride. From afar, a voice shouted, telling him to let go of her, calling him a madman. Both Neon and Blood Rain were startled and immediately looked towards the voice. He angrily let go of her face and shouted, asking who it was. The voice was fearless, even threatening him back, saying to lie down by the count of 3. Blood Rain recognized the voice, angrily thinking it couldn't be that guy again. Neon understood the person's plan, quickly holding her head and squatting down as the counting continued. 3. From a distance, Kang Woo flew in, kicking Blood Rain to the ground. The guy quickly raised his hand to react to Kang Woo, but Blood Rain didn't feel any force hit him and looked confused. As he lowered his guard, Kang Woo's foot appeared right in front of him. He didn't hold back, kicking him straight off to a distance. Blood Rain couldn't defend against the kick and was sent flying into the wall. Blood Rain was frustrated, cursing under his breath. That damn guy was back. Kang Woo didn't let up, raising his fist in threat, saying, This was just the beginning. Blood Rain's eyes widened as he saw Kang Woo's fist. He quickly dodged to the side to avoid Kang Woo's punch. Kang Woo's anger was channeled into his punch, destroying the hospital floor. Blood Rain was losing and gritted his teeth in frustration. He immediately got up to retaliate against Kang Woo. Blood Rain unleashed one of his moves, Blood Sword. Kang Woo wasn't scared, easily dodging it. Kang Woo quickly delivered another powerful punch to Blood Rain. He gritted his teeth, putting all his force into the punch, yelling, Die. This time, Blood Rain couldn't dodge anymore. Blood Rain took the full force of Kang Woo's terrifying punch, but he was insanely persistent, immediately looking back into Kang Woo's eyes. Blood Rain began using his trump card, Hypnosis. Kang Woo was stunned by this move and couldn't react in time. Suddenly, he shouted, jabbing fingers into Blood Rain's eyes, exclaiming that he caught him, while Blood Rain shockingly asked, How dare he? The battle quickly ended with Kang Woo defeating Blood Rain. Cassian's punches rained down on Blood Rain's face with unrelenting force. The ceiling seemed to tremble with each hit. Cassian's hand gripped Blood Rain's face. Without hesitation, Cassian slammed his head into the ground. Sitting on top of Blood Rain, Cassian had the upper hand, saying it seemed like he had always reveled in his own vile desires. Gathering lightning energy in his hand, Cassian declared it was time for Blood Rain to pay the price. But Blood Rain just laughed, looking amused. Cassian found Blood Rain's strange attitude confusing. You think this is funny? But Blood Rain admitted, Of course, why wouldn't I be happy? Blood Rain confidently responded to Cassian, You'll never defeat me, because that's what I am. Hearing this, Cassian frowned and cursed. What are you talking about, you crazy lunatic? Blood Rain kept a smirk as his body began to change. Blood Rain turned into a shadow and merged with the ground. Cassian's eyes widened in shock. Immediately Cassian hit the ground hard with his hand, but all it did was crack the floor, leaving Blood Rain unharmed. Moros, witnessing the scene, couldn't help but grumble. This guy's skill is so annoying, knowing there's nothing they could do to Blood Rain in shadow form. Physical attacks were useless. In his mind, Cassian felt a bit of regret, thinking, Damn it, if I could still use my fire magic, he'd be finished. In just a few seconds of distraction, they lost track of him. Where did he go? Meanwhile, The medics regained their senses. "Why am I in the parking lot?" Naeun asked kindly. "Is everyone okay?" Moros realized everything was temporarily fine. The hypnosis had worn off, so he quickly called out for the group to disperse. "Hey, doctors and nurses there, move the patients to safety." They looked at Cassian in shock, startled villain. Seeing people leaving, she shouted to stop them. "Wait." Then now Yoon stood bewildered, not yet regaining her composure. In the space, everything moved rapidly. Cassian focused, using speed to chase Blood Rain, knowing he couldn't have gone far. Cassian gritted his teeth with determination. "We have to catch up with him quickly." Others were moving on the other side. The door in front closed, narrowing the gap. Both Wu Chan and Daewon Lee blocked the exit. Cassian had to stop, because he confronted the two of them. Dong looked at the person in front, shouting in shock, "Villain over there." Cassian was as surprised as Daewon Lee, who stared intently at the person. "It's him." Daewon Lee showed no mercy, drawing his sword. He swiftly used spiritual energy, hurling it at Cassian. Flying sword. Cassian wasn't scared, and raised an arm to counter. "That's all it takes to stop me." With one move, Cassian easily deflected the sword. "Get out of my way." The weapon spun like a toy on the ground. Daewon calmly caught his sword again. He felt irritated as Wu Chan stood motionless. "Wu Chan, why are you standing there like a statue?" Currently, Wu Chan was in a state of indecision. Naeun mentioned, "He's the one who saved her." Images from the past suddenly flashed in Wu Chan's mind. When his name was called, Wu Chan's eyes lit up. Now, Wu Chan's hand glowed with flames, determined to eliminate the villains. Wu Chan unleashed a powerful fiery attack. Cassian charged toward the blazing flames. His hand was filled with great power. Cassian used a technique to absorb all the flames with his shadow sword. In that moment, Cassian noticed Daewon Lee behind him. He frowned, irritated by the two obstructing him. Damn it, how annoying. Daewon Lee took the chance to attack from behind, roaring bear. All Cassian could do was watch the sharp sword graze by. The sword sliced his hip, drawing blood. Daewon Lee shouted for Wu Chan to finish it. "Now give him a final blow." Wu Chan received the command and got ready to charge. Wu Chan fearlessly launched his final attack. But then Naeun's voice appeared. "He saved me." In that instant, Wu Chan wavered. Cassian took the opportunity to look around. Fortunately, he found a new escape path. Finally, Cassian used his abilities to escape. Now, Wu Chan stood in a space filled with darkness. Seeing this, Daewon Lee scolded, "Kim Wu Chan, where's your mind at?" He could only blame himself. "I'm sorry." He rested the sword on his shoulder and asked curiously, "What's with you today?" In the silent basement, Daewon Lee tapped his sword on the wall and commented, "What was that just now? It's like he vanished into the shadows. Is it some kind of shadow skill? First time I've seen this." He turned to Wu Chan for input. "How do we report this?" Then Daewon Lee gently patted his shoulder, advising him, "Hey, stop blaming yourself." Kindly, he told Wu Chan to go. "What are you standing there for? Go take care of your sister." After hearing this, Wu Chan remained silent and did not respond. Eventually, the response came, "Yes." As the sky turned to sunset, a voice echoed, "Anyway, it's really annoying. We lost track of both of them." Blood Rain struggled to move his injured body away. "Damn it, my throat is dry." Blood Rain, with his body full of wounds, kept cursing. "Damn it, that bastard ruined everything again." The sunset clouds drifted across the wide sky. The burning in his throat made him uncomfortable. His throat was dry. Suddenly, Blood Rain looked up at the view ahead. His lips curled up, revealing two dangerous fangs. Blood Rain had targeted this flashy place to strike. It looked delicious to appease his thirst. Inside, under the spinning glowing lights, people were crowded, dancing to the lively music. Among them, a girl happened to look back. Innocently, she quickly started a conversation with Blood Rain. "You've got blood on your clothes." "Are you hurt anywhere, handsome?" He replied gently, in his harmless-looking scholarly manner. "No, I'm just thirsty." Hearing this, the kind girl offered, "Thirsty? Shall I get you something to drink?" Blood Rain couldn't hold back any longer and got close to her neck. "But what I really want is something much more enticing." On the other side, a car sped down the road. Inside, someone was driving while listening to the news about a massacre at the Red Juice Club in Gatam District, Street Number 3, Station Area. An identified villain, Blood Rain, was causing people to panic. Daewon could only grit his teeth and curse. Damn it. He couldn't believe Blood Rain dared to cause trouble again. Has that bastard gone completely mad? Wu Chan, seeing his teammate's attitude, asked, "What happened?" Daewon Lee explained the chaos. "Blood Rain is terrorizing the citizens again. How many times has it been now?" He also became serious with a brief, stunned expression. Just before Wu Chan had shouted loudly, calling his sister Naeun, he panted with concern for Naeun's safety. "Are you okay?" She saw Wu Chan and replied, "Brother." He grabbed Naeun and cared for her. "Are you hurt?" She revealed an important truth. That person saved me. Wu Chan raised an eyebrow, barely believing his ears. What? Naeun, looking uneasy, repeated. The one who saved me last time. Thinking of this, he could only fall into silent contemplation. Their car drove steadily onward. In a deserted area in the dark of night, Cassian held his injury from the last encounter. Moros, standing beside, felt a bit lucky. It's good. It's not a serious wound. He squinted at the person in front and observed, it's really unlike you. He turned to face Moros and asked back, unlike me? Moros immediately provided evidence with his point. You fight very differently when facing a villain. Are you being gentle with them because they're psychers? Cassian paused slightly, then firmly stated, it won't be like that anymore. He looked at his hands and realized, my enemies aren't just villains. Moros came closer to Cassian and found that everything was fine. The wound has almost healed. Suddenly, both of them glanced down. He held a glowing gem in his hand, curious. What is this? An information panel unexpectedly appeared. Back at the scene, sounds were continuously echoing. Outside lay bodies scattered in pools of blood. Inside, a few people remained, but also appeared in pain. Wu Chan and Daewon Lee arrived at the place where blood rain was ravaging. He sat on a chair, leisurely, lifting a glass to enjoy. Blood rain seemed indifferent, and commented contentedly, finally, I feel a little recovered and satisfied. Daewon Lee couldn't hold back, cursing, you bastard, you're a madman. Yet, Blood Rain calmly demanded, silence. Blood Rain acts like he controls the game, not wanting his recovery time to be interrupted. Cold sweat starts forming on Daewon Lee. The unfortunate people nearby are trembling because they're closest to him. He clicks his tongue, seeing the people lying around. Daewon quickly discusses a temporary plan with Wu Chan to rescue the survivors and then capture him. The wine glass in his hand finally falls as the recovery time ends and Blood Rain charges furiously at the two. He launches a sharp arrow for a long-range attack, the blood spear startling him with this opening strike. Even he widens his eyes in shock. Daewon Lee draws his sword. He uses the sword to deflect the blood threads from Blood Rain. Wu Chan suddenly speeds off, surprising Daewon Lee. He decides to directly confront the vicious villain. While Wu Chan is about to attack, he stops him, and Wu Chan holds back. Daewon Lee is very worried about the remaining civilians. Using fire would trap the hostages in flames. At this moment, he realizes the problem. He sneers, mocking, still caring about others. Huh? In an instant, he is shocked, his eyes widening. Blood Rain is already close, and using his ultimate move, worry about yourself. At close range, Daewon is immediately knocked back. The wall behind him cracking, taking all the damage, makes Daewon cry out in pain. He doesn't relent, continuing to close in. Blood Rain arrogantly wants to finish him. I'll end your life with a mystic strike. He launches an attack right at Daewon Lee's face, the Blood Whip. While Wu Chan witnesses it all and can only scream his teammate's name, Daewon Lee, Blood Rain's head slammed hard into the wall. Yet, he still smirked slightly. From another direction, Wu Chan charged, and using his strength, he thrust his fist forward, causing a large explosion with flames. But Blood Rain was unharmed and suddenly appeared behind Wu Chan, saying, good skills, but they're useless. You can't defeat me with just that. Shocked, Wu Chan gritted his teeth and quickly turned his head, thinking, when did he? Blood Rain shouted loudly, swinging his clawed hand before Wu Chan could fully turn. The claws grazed him. His body soon bore the wounds from Blood Rain's attack. Damn it, he thought. Seeing Wu Chan hurt, Blood Rain grinned with satisfaction. Wu Chan's eyes widened with anger as he kicked Blood Rain hard, sending him flying. He shouted, get lost. He kicked hard, sending Blood Rain far back, yelling loudly, disappear. But the wounds quickly made Wu Chan fall to his knees in pain. His face was drenched in sweat as he clutched his stomach and panted heavily. Below him, a large pool of blood from his wound spread. From a distance, Blood Rain chuckled and muttered smugly, a bit rushed. Blood Rain bit his finger slightly, his red eyes glowing as he said, if that hit me, even my bones would be split in two. Wu Chan gritted his teeth, frowning and staring intently at Blood Rain, thinking, this bastard is too strong. If I can't use fire magic, I can't escape him. Blood Rain looked leisurely at Wu Chan, taunting, you look angry and helpless. Blood Rain smirked as if seeing through him, raising his voice. You can't use your full power because you're worried about the hostage, right? Blood Rain mentioned a name that made Wu Chan startle. Naeun. Naeun's image seemed to appear, and Blood Rain spoke excitedly. You have a sister who's a model. I've done some research on her. He thought of her and Cassian, speaking in an annoyed tone. That brave and cute little girl tricked me. I thought the stalker was her brother. Blood Rain ignored his reaction and continued. She will be punished for deceiving me. Suddenly, Wu Chan stood up, interrupting him. If you dare touch my sister, he continued to channel his power, frowning and glaring at Bloodrain with determination. I'll kill you. Bloodrain bared his teeth with excitement, thinking that brat fell into the trap. Wu Chan watched Bloodrain wearily, thinking, soon, I'll taste the blood of a furious psyker. It'll be a unique flavor. But Bloodrain remained calm, tilting his head as he said, You're full of confidence. Suddenly Bloodrain's face darkened, his eyes glowing as he said, That confidence. I'll give you a chance to prove it. The sky outside was pitch black, and the air around them was silent. Bloodrain's voice echoed in the air. Here, I can relax. You can use your full power here, can't you? Wu Chan barely paid attention to Bloodrain's words, rubbing his knuckles. You must be happy to use your full power, huh? The two stood menacingly opposite each other in the dark space. With no one around under this night sky, I can savor the blood of this psyker as I please, Bloodrain thought. Suddenly, Wu Chan's eyes widened. His hand ignited a flame of power, and he charged forward, shouting, Make you regret this. A large flame burst forth, and Wu Chan coldly said, For bringing me here. The flame raced toward Bloodrain, but he remained still. Bloodrain bared his teeth in a sinister grin. Then he bent his body and leaped high to dodge the attack. Wu Chan reached out, but froze in surprise at Bloodrain's quick dodge. Bloodrain turned and swung his hand toward Wu Chan. Bloodrain's hand extended and lunged forward, gripping Wu Chan's neck tightly. Bloodrain looked down at Wu Chan with a bit of disdain. Is this the extent of your power? He called out. Then he started attacking, his red eyes flashing as he said, It's no different than when you weren't using your power. Wu Chan was startled by Bloodrain's actions, his eyes wide open. Just like that, Wu Chan was thrown hard against the wall. You know, I haven't even used my full strength, Bloodrain said. Meanwhile, Cassian slowly stepped inside. Seeing the devastation around him, he muttered, This is sick. A deep scratch on the wall quickly caught Cassian's attention. He approached and touched the scratch thoughtfully. This is a claw mark, he said. Moros, hovering nearby, chimed in. It has strong magic traces. Cassian continued to look around, thinking, Could it really be that bastard? Then he noticed Daewon unconscious in a corner. Cassian looked at him hesitantly and said, This bastard. He went up to Daewon and asked, Is he dead? Moros calmly replied, He's still alive. Cassian continued inspecting the area and quietly wondered, Kim Wu Chan must have been here, but where is he now? Moros spotted a sword on the ground and called out, Cassian, look at this. Curious, Cassian turned his head toward the sword. What is it? He asked. A magic weapon, it replied. Without hesitation, Cassian picked up the sword. A force emanated from it. He examined the sword closely and mumbled, I can feel it when I hold it. Suddenly, Moros's voice rang out, This is a good chance. Extract the magic crystal from that weapon. Cassian looked over a bit hesitant and said, You're right. It's a good chance, but it's someone else's weapon. He then fell silent, looking at the sword. Memories flashed by. I guess it's okay. After a while, he dropped the sword. In his hands, there were 2 glowing crystals. Without hesitation, he swallowed the 2 crystals. Things around him started to change in a strange way. Small lights flickered as Cassian widened his eyes in silence. A small light suddenly appeared from his chest. Cassian opened his eyes wide, feeling the change. Moros noticed it too, and was a bit startled in amazement. A dangerous aura gradually emanated from him. Cassian's voice echoed, causing Moros to be puzzled. I think you don't need to check with your eyes anymore. His whole body exuded a thick, killing intent. Cassian turned and said, I'm used to this feeling now. The sky remained dark, with the moon casting its glow down. Above the tall iron column, figures appeared faintly. The 3 standing there watched the battle below, sounding frustrated, wondering when that bastard would show up. They knew he would soon reveal himself. Garnet looked down at the raging battle and sighed. I'm getting tired of the appetizer. Below, Wu Chan charged at Bloodrain. He clenched his teeth, raising his fist high, aiming straight at him. Bloodrain, however, casually stretched out his hand to block it. He intercepted Wu Chan's punch, grinning with satisfaction. Suddenly, having his hand grabbed, made Wu Chan's eyes widen in shock. This little flame can't hurt me. From Bloodrain's palm, a small orb formed. Moments later, he didn't hesitate, driving it into Wu Chan's stomach. Caught off guard, Wu Chan's eyes rolled in pain, unable to do anything. Just like that, Wu Chan collapsed, clutching his stomach and gasping for breath. You're so weak, so pathetic. Bloodrain's sharp-clawed hand slowly withdrew. His eyes glowed bright as he smiled cunningly, saying, Poor thing, but don't blame yourself for being weak. I'll make you a part of me, so you can live forever. As Bloodrain laughed loudly, a voice suddenly interrupted him, making him pause. You crazy sicko. Cassian appeared behind him, surrounded by an aura of hostility. He calmly tilted his head and looked at Bloodrain, slowly commanding, "Stop spouting that nonsense. You're just a twisted mosquito." Immediately, the air around them fell silent as the two faced each other. Cassian and Moros stared intently at him. Seeing him, Bloodrain raised a hand to his chin, amused. "It's you again, you damned leech, interrupting my fun times." Cassian slightly furrowed his brow, speaking without any respect. "For someone defeated over and over, you sure love to chat." He laughed loudly, speaking confidently. "My body has reached a new level." Bloodrain, pleased, recalled past events, boasting, "I've absorbed dozens of people, and their blood has awoken me." He extended his sharp clawed hand, looking at the energy emanating from it, laughing. "This proud power is unbeatable. Even an S-rank psyker can't touch me now." Cassian furrowed his brow slightly and said in a serious voice, "Is that so?" behind him. Wu Chan clutched his stomach in pain, trembling non-stop. He seemed to recognize Cassian's presence, and Cassian, seeing Wu Chan, thought quietly, "That's him." Bloodrain silently extended his hand to create another red orb. His entire being surged with immense power, his eyes shining brightly, shouting, "Behold my invincible power." Upon seeing Bloodrain's power, Wu Chan was deeply startled, thinking, "Oh my god, this bastard wasn't using his full strength against me." Full of excitement, he bared his teeth, extending both arms forward. Immediately, a massive force shot forth at high speed, Blood Spear. Despite seeing this, Cassian stood still. He extended his hand, energy starting to emanate. His other hand also glowed with power. Then he quickly crossed his arms to block the attack. Suddenly, something red flew in and wrapped tightly around Cassian's raised arms. Bloodrain, seeming satisfied, leaped up, aiming to claw. Got him. As soon as he swung, Cassian's image disappeared. Seeing this, Bloodrain was a bit surprised, his eyes widening. Then Cassian, exuding an intense aura, appeared behind him, shouting, "Fool, I'm behind you." Bloodrain gritted his teeth and whipped around. He swung a fist, but Cassian ducked to evade. Cassian's eyes shone. His hand clenched into a fist. Without hesitation, he punched Bloodrain straight in the face from below. Cassian didn't give him a chance to react, and immediately kicked Bloodrain, sending him flying. Bloodrain was hit and couldn't defend himself, gasping in pain. Cassian raised his fist and glared, saying, "Show me your so-called invincibility." He punched Bloodrain hard in the face and demanded, "When are you going to show me?" Bloodrain's whole body got knocked far away. Wu Chan, who was down in the distance, was stunned to see Bloodrain knocked back. He gritted his teeth in surprise, thinking, "What is this?" Wu Chan recalled Cassian from before, and wondered, "He seems different from the hospital. Is he also hiding his true strength?" He looked at Cassian, who was exuding a dark aura, pondering what happened since then. Bloodrain spat out blood and struggled to get up. He collapsed, cursing non-stop. "Damn it." As Cassian slowly approached, saying, "You claimed an S-rank psyker couldn't defeat you, but is that all you encountered?" Suddenly, Bloodrain smirked slightly. Cassian quickly realized his intention and said, "Are you planning to run away again?" Bloodrain's whole body started being enveloped in red as he confidently replied, "I don't know what happened during this time, but I admit you're stronger. But you'll never catch me with just physical attacks, especially when my body turns into blood." Without fear, he smiled at Cassian, but before Bloodrain could continue, Cassian interrupted and shouted, "There won't be a next time, you sick mosquito." Swiftly, his entire body was engulfed by sources of dark energy, shadow images. Bloodrain furrowed his brows, unable to move, as Cassian declared with an unchanged expression, "Neither you nor your twisted desires will see rebirth." Cassian created a black flame. With an eerie smile, he looked at Bloodrain and spoke in a deep voice, "I will burn you with everything I have." Hearing this, Bloodrain's eyes widened in terror. A powerful energy was released by Cassian, the black flame. The gentle morning sunlight streamed through the hospital windows, offering warmth to the patients inside. In the recovery room, the TV played a quick news update. The anchor spoke about last night's dramatic scene in the Gatam district, where Bloodrain, the brutal murderer, was captured after a fierce battle. The screen displayed the killer's portrait. Bloodrain, the notorious serial killer, wasn't just anybody, but Kim Wu Chan, a rising rookie psyker, took him down. The screen showed Wu Chan surrounded by people asking questions. Daewon Lee, the man in the next bed, praised Wu Chan, saying, "Kid, you did well, great job." He laughed heartily. "I can't imagine what would have happened if he hadn't been caught." The TV continued with more news. Wu Chan, not looking happy, quietly said, "I didn't catch him." He looked down, his hand clutched a can tightly. "I only contacted headquarters after the fight was over." He recalled the memory of a strong hand gripping the head of the unconscious killer. That was Cassian. He had firmly taken down the killer. Wu Chan was stunned, looking at Cassian surrounded by energy bands. Cassian had powers of darkness and fire. Wu Chan, confused, thought, "Dual attributes. I've never heard of that. Cassian turned to Wu Chan and said, "Hey, you call the police or report something. The murderer Blood Rain is captured." Back in the recovery room conversation, Wu Chan told Daewon, "I made it clear that I wasn't the one who caught him, but they reported to the authorities that I did." Daewon Lee asked skeptically, "Wasn't it that guy who fought Blaster last time?" Wu Chan confirmed, "Yeah, he took down Blood Rain." A quiet, still mood settled as Daewon Lee spoke again. "You feel guilty because you're not the one who did it, don't you?" Wu Chan's silence seemed to agree. Daewon Lee relaxed back into the mattress, advising, "All right, don't worry about it anymore. Worrying won't help." Wu Chan listened as he continued. Maybe he had another goal, like fighting to gain ranks. Suddenly Daewon sat up, as if remembering something important. "Oh right, what about my BU sword?" Wu Chan replied. "They said it's safe at the police station." Daewon Lee sighed with relief. "Thank goodness, my precious sword." Wu Chan silently gazed out the window, letting the warm sunbeam shine on his face. The scene shifted to a school. Under the tree, a group of bullies was talking. One of them excitedly looked at a message on their phone and shouted, "Did you see? Kim Woo Chan beat a killer. That's insane." Daegu grimaced. "Lucky we didn't go to the club last night, or we'd be in trouble again." His friend laughed mockingly. "You really think your dumb face could get us in?" "You're so delusional," he snapped back. "Want to die?" On the other side, Gi-hun didn't pay attention and focused forward. He approached and asked Daegu, who seemed bored, "Where's Dong-sung? Why are you sitting alone?" Dae hesitated, remembering his friend getting hit. After he got punched in the face, he had to go to the hospital for a broken eye socket. Gi-hun grumbled angrily. "At least pay his hospital bills. He almost died. The hit was your idea after all," Daegu said helplessly. "He got hit because you pushed him into it." Gi-hun irritably asked, "You're just going to let that bastard go? We need to keep our reputation." Dae calmly replied, "Count me out." Hearing that, Gi-hun got mad. "What? But if you don't join Daegu, cut him off. You still think he's a loser?" Shaking, he gripped his medicated box tightly and confessed, "Honestly, I'm more afraid of that guy than Kim Woo Chan." He recalled Cassian's eyes in shock. How can a person have eyes like that? Hearing this, Gi-hun's face showed a hint of fear. In a classroom, whispers could be heard. "Did you see the news?" A group of students, admiration on their faces, looked at the news on their phones. "Kim Woo Chan is amazing. It gives me chills." Cassian sat silently, listening, thinking, everyone's obsessed with last night's events. He remembered two people and said, "I should take some time to see those guys." Cassian leaned back, saying to Moros, floating nearby, "I want something beyond the rewards they mentioned." Moros asked, "Do you want anything else?" He closed his eyes, staying silent, not wanting to respond. Outside, the apartment building looked old, with walls covered in moss. Below the wall, a pink-haired girl playfully chewed gum and held a spray paint can, focused on her creation. The wall was covered with countless stickers and a not-so-cute bear drawing. As she admired her work, someone approached from behind. It was the building's cleaner, who looked at the messy wall with a judgmental gaze, feeling powerless. On the top floor of the building, in a certain room, Driver was focused on repairing something. Then he suddenly heard a noise behind him. 3 people entered, and one of them said, "Is this how you welcome important guests?" It was Garnet looking around and commenting on the mess, suggesting it should be tidied up. Next to him, Aroma wrinkled her nose, probably due to the moldy smell, along with the girl Oat. Driver turned to them and said, "You start complaining as soon as you arrive. Why are you here, Garnet?" Garnet replied, "Didn't you call me?" Driver chuckled, "I called you?" He invited them to sit at the table, and while fetching some water, Driver asked, "Did you see that guy fight?" Garnet closed his eyes, recalling the intense battle with Cassian, and smiled with interest, saying, "Of course, I saw everything." With a look of appreciation, he continued, "I watched intently, as if it were a movie." From Driver's perspective, information about the person in front of him appeared on his screen: who ranked villain, metal element sorcerer, Royal Garnet. "Really? What do you think?" Driver asked. Hot, who seemed emotionless, lightly picking up a piece of cake. She tasted it and added, "A bland, empty movie." Aroma, hearing this, commented on how critical she was. Garnet brushed cake crumbs off her cheek and said, "I thought it was quite okay." He continued, "The main actor is unique, like a dazzling yet mysterious black diamond." Driver commented, "Isn't that overly generous?" He popped some cake crumbs into his mouth and said with a deep laugh, "There's nothing else to say." Garnet smirked and asked, "You knew right from the start, didn't you?" That guy had dual attributes. Driver turned around to look at the 3 of them and rested his chin in thought. The space seemed to fall silent as the 3 were waiting for him to answer. Driver spoke up, "Well, now I know." To which Garnet, surprised, asked, "Really? You didn't know?" He replied, "I just thought he was different from some other villains." and Garnet, appearing slightly confused, said, "You didn't know." Garnet quickly adjusted his mood, rested his chin, and calmly said, "A dual attribute villain? I've never heard of such a thing." Driver replied, "Actually, they do exist." The three looked surprised and listened intently. He continued, "A long time ago, they existed during the mythological era. Outside, sunlight fell on old mossy buildings, making the place feel strangely peaceful. Perhaps this is the land where villains live, a place for villains not to be imprisoned, but to avoid the war between villains and psychers, allowing villains to act freely, a place where people live in peace. This is the region of villains." Cassian gently looked up through the old buildings as the warm sunlight softly covered his face, marking the peace here. He quietly assessed the grand buildings before him, thinking, "I can never get used to this place, no how many times I come here." Suddenly, a voice came from above. "You're right on time." It was Driver sitting cross-legged on the building's ledge, looking down at Cassian and evaluating him. "Your aura seems quite different from the last time we met." He smiled and said, "It's good to see you again." Amidst the vast, crude but empty space in an alley, there was a bar that seemed quite crowded. Cassian and he sat at the bar and ordered drinks. It was a grapefruit juice, looking very refreshing. Driver handed a glass to Cassian and said, "The grapefruit juice here is really good. After you finish, I'll give you a tour of this villain area." Then Driver pulled out a small box and placed it on the table, capturing Cassian's attention. He said, "Here for you, the promised reward." But as he spoke, Driver adjusted the specs on his glasses. "Your magic has really increased significantly. Have you been using magic stones or something?" Cassian replied, "Where would I get magic stones?" Driver asked again, "Really?" He looked at Cassian through the glasses and saw the figures, thinking to himself, where on earth did this guy come from? Last time we met, he only had 300 magic points, but now it's over 500 points. His magic can't increase that much, just from the magic stones I gave him. Driver suddenly became curious. Does this have anything to do with his dual attributes? Holding the box containing 2 magic stones, Cassian asked, "I'm really curious. Where did you get the magic stones? Did someone supply them to you?" Suddenly, a voice from above said, "He got the magic stones from me. System displays information. Outsider rank a summoner with summon attribute Chiha." Then Chiha created a chess piece that looked somewhat like Cassian. He pushed a plate of cake in front of Cassian and said, "This is a free dish for a very special customer." Driver pointed to him and introduced, "This is the owner of this bar, my brother Chiha. He's an outsider living in the villain region." Chiha helplessly said, "I told you not to call me brother." Then he turned to the bar owner, speaking in a somewhat sweet tone, "Sell me some cheap magic stones." Chiha laughed, "I've given them to you at the lowest price already, you stingy customer." Driver with a continued look said, "Come on, we're probably past the friendship level, right? How many years have we known each other?" Chiha coldly and jokingly replied, "Business is business." Looking at the bar owner, Cassian thought quietly, an outsider living in the villain region. Surely he has his own story. Cassian voiced his question. "I have some questions. Can I also buy magic stones?" Chiha cheerfully replied, "Of course, if you're a member of this villain region," Cassian questioned. "A member of the villain region?" Driver explained upon hearing that, "You just need to reside in the residential area of the villain region." Cassian puzzled, "You want me to live there and work for you like a boss?" Driver replied, "That depends on you. You'll have to take a test. Whether you become the boss or not depends on the test results." Chiha, hearing this, asked, "You don't want to be the boss of the villain region anymore?" Driver calmly said, "I've been thinking about it for a long time." "Oh boy." Cassian seriously replied, "I'm not interested in becoming the boss of this region." Driver looked puzzled. "Why not? Being the boss of the villain region is cool, you know." Cassian said uninterestedly, "If you like it, you can keep it." Driver continued, "You'll have full control over the villain region if you become the boss. You would even have subordinates in your own fancy training room." Cassian took a sip of grapefruit juice and said, "Apart from figuring out how to become stronger, I'm not interested in anything else." Driver, hearing this, didn't stop, but continued, "You can also buy magic stones from the black market." Cassian was surprised. He looked directly at the bartender in front of him. He thought to himself, "I'm not sure, but there's a chance he's also a black market dealer." He continued observing a bartender standing nearby, thinking, "This guy too. They don't seem like easy opponents at all." Driver continued to pitch the villain's regions, saying, "Think it over. You'll also receive a salary, like a monthly maintenance fee, and that's quite a substantial amount." Cassian heard that and asked Driver, "So, how much do you actually get?" Driver leaned in and whispered something to Cassian. After hearing it, Cassian's face became shocked and bewildered. The space suddenly felt quiet. The three of them didn't say anything, but seemed to understand each other. Chiha smiled. His grin was as sly as a fox. The scene shifted to a corner of the room. Blackhand, feeling bored, was munching on bread, complaining, "The taste is awful. Is this even real meat?" He jumped up angrily, shouting, "How long do I have to eat this stuff? I want to go out and eat Papa's chicken burger." Crush interrupted. "Burger Queen is pretty good too." Leaning against the wall like an addict, he said, "I really like pizza, but I can't even remember when I last ate it." The system displayed, "Villain rank B, physical strength attribute assassin, Crush." Blackhand angrily stomped his foot. "You destroyed the only pizza place in the villain's region. Isn't it obvious?" Crush said nonchalantly. "Pineapple pizza is unacceptable." Blackhand, frustrated, called him an idiot. Suddenly, a voice spoke from behind. "Is everyone here?" This got both of their attention. It was Double who continued, "Now's not the time to talk about pizza." The system displayed, "Villain rank B, wind attribute assassin, double blade." Crush looked at him and asked, "What's going on? Some crazy psyker invading the villain's region?" Double replied, "That jerk has arrived." Crush asked again, "Which jerk?" He answered, "The one in black who hit you last time." Hearing that, Crush's face became extremely shocked. He recalled the previous fight and gritted his teeth in anger. "Where is that jerk now?" He answered, "He's with Driver. They're at Heaven Pub. Are you going after them?" Crush, with eyes burning with determination, responded, "Definitely," but Double warned, "Driver has limited the fighting among villains in the region." Crush, with a wild look, shouted, "Starting today, I'm going to break that rule." One afternoon, in the quiet land of villains, a shovel dug into the ground and then lifted the soil. Under the bridge, a young man was diligently digging with Cassian and Driver standing above looking down. Driver casually said, "His name is Dirt Dog because he loves to dig." He then pointed out the person standing behind Dirt Dog. "That guy back there is cleaner. He's compulsively tidy. He can't sit still if he sees a speck of dust." The masked man said, "I will clean everything. Make sure you don't get any dirt on me while digging." Dirt Dog didn't seem to care, saying, "Damn, just get out of here." Driver added, "They're both crazy, but harmless. Even if they don't harm people, they can cause material damage." The guy with the mask continued nagging behind Dirt Dog. "Dig neatly." Driver kept walking while laughing. "That's why we need a place like the land of villains." Hearing him talk so cheerfully, Cassian followed along, thinking, "They are different from the villains I've faced." Maybe because of this guy. He suddenly asked, "Why do you want me to catch Blood Rain?" Driver answered, "Because I need a traitor." Even after hearing that, Cassian was still a bit confused. Driver then explained, "To eliminate the traitor, I need someone not connected to me or the land of villains like you." While walking, Driver recounted, "You might not know, but like psychers, villains come in many types." He categorized them as those who follow the rules and those who defy the rules and do as they please. Cassian listened and then asked, "So?" Driver further explained, "Blood Rain is just a pawn for the traitor, nothing more." He stopped walking. "There's definitely something more sinister behind it, because their ultimate goal is to destroy the land of villains." Cassian finally turned away. "Those things have nothing to do with me." Driver wasn't surprised and turned back. "I knew you'd say that," Driver revealed. "That's why I like you." Which caught Cassian by surprise. Out of the blue, he invited Cassian. "You should become a member of the land of villains." Cassian still seemed confused. "What nonsense are you talking?" Driver didn't answer, instead stating, "I swear on my honor as a villain." He smiled confidently. "This is a very sincere request." Meanwhile, in the city center, at a place with the nameplate Vespera. It's a luxurious restaurant, near the wine rack. Yuri stood there, checking the books. While doing so, she wondered, "Has Kang Woo eaten yet? I haven't seen him much since I gave him that card." From the other side, a waiter called out. Manager Kwon Yuri looked over. "Yes, that's me." The waiter said, "The owner is looking for you." And she looked a bit surprised. "Looking for me?" He replied, "Of course, in the owner's room." He was on the phone saying, "She's diligent, sociable, and works without any mistakes." On the other end was a woman. "I've heard about this employee. I'm really looking forward to it," the owner added. "Personally, I'd really regret it if she left." The woman chuckled, responding, "It feels like I just did something evil." Outside the office door, Yuri knocked and said, "It's me, Won Yuri." The owner turned and answered, "Manager Kwon's here." He told the person on the other end, "I'll call you back later." The woman placed the phone down, smiling to herself. A moment later, in the owner's office, he suddenly handed out a letter. "Here, take it." Yuri took it a bit puzzled as the owner explained, "The headquarters in the USA has sent you an invitation, Manager Kwon," he continued. "They have recognized your hard work and ability and want to invite you for further training at the headquarters." Yuri was astonished. "What, really?" the owner explained. "They will pay for your flights and provide you with an apartment near the headquarters building." To which she covered her mouth, extremely happy. "Oh my God," he asked again. "It's a great opportunity. Will you go?" Yuri, with a radiant face, replied, "Of course I will." But then she thought of those she loved, Cassian and Kang Woo, which made her hesitate a bit. At night in the desolate city, also known as the Land of Villains, Cassian was walking alone in the deserted area. He was dragging his feet, reminiscing about that time. That afternoon, Driver once again said, "You should become a member of the Land of Villains," to which Cassian questioned, "What nonsense are you talking about?" Suddenly he swore, "I swear by the honor of a villain." Driver's face became serious. "This is a very sincere request." Back to the present, Cassian was still thinking about that moment. Seeing his worried look, Moros asked, "What's wrong with you?" With agility, he quickly realized someone was watching him. Turning around, it was Blackhand, standing against the wall nearby. Not only him, Crush was also there, wondering, is he going alone? Cassian's face still remained icy cold. He stayed silent for a while, then spoke. "Is there still a little rat hiding?" Double, who was hiding behind the wall on the other side, thought, "Does he already know I'm here? This guy must be no ordinary person." Crush gritted his teeth and said, "I'm losing my mind. I want to turn him into a bloody pulp right now." But Blackhand stepped forward, pushing him back and claiming, "Let's follow the rules. He's mine first." He started grinding his teeth, releasing electrical energy, and said angrily, "I'll repay all the humiliation you brought since that day." Seeing Blackhand suddenly so riled up, Cassian wondered internally, is there something wrong with this guy? Wasn't he the troublemaker last time? Moros then whispered to him, "Be careful, Cassian. It seems they will attack in a group." His eyes suddenly opened wide with fear. Blackhand stomped forward, shouting, "Die." Suddenly, a large beer glass was thrown from somewhere. It quickly blocked Blackhand's path. He yelled, looking up. "What the heck is this?" A woman's voice said, "It's rude to greet someone leaving like that." She was a B-rank villain, an assassin with a physical power attribute named Ju AK. Blackhand shouted angrily, "You drunkard, have you gone crazy from drinking too much?" She smiled and said, "I'm just warning you about violating the code." Ju AK said attacking someone goes against the code in the Land of Villains. Crush clicked his tongue in frustration, and Blackhand retorted loudly, "That only applies if he's a member of the Land of Villains too." Suddenly, another voice chimed in, "Soon, he will be a member of the Land of Villains." Double noticed the crow feathers falling. On top of an old building, a shadowy figure sat. It was Crow, who had also arrived to give a warning. Blackhand couldn't believe it, and stammered, "Crow, how could you?" Crow gave a mysterious smile. She opened her mouth, and asked again, "Will you let him go?" The two of them were sweating, looking at Crow, hesitant. That evening, inside a tall building, the door of the apartment swung open. It was Yuri coming home after a tiring day at work. She sighed. She turned on the light, looked around, and talked to herself, wondering if the boy was already asleep. Yuri went to the door of Cassian's bedroom. She knocked a few times, but nobody answered. Yuri remembered what her boss had said, recognizing her hard work and capability, and wanting to offer her further training at the head office. She seemed worried and stayed silent. Finally, Yuri put her bag down. She left it outside the bathroom, then went inside, telling herself to just shower and get to bed. But the bag tipped over, and a letter slipped out unnoticed. The next morning, under a clear sky, there was the sound of heavy breathing. It was Cassian, who had woken up early to go running with several 10 kg sandbags. People on the street looked at Cassian's form and murmured among themselves. Moros watched his training and said, "Sandbags, huh? An old-school training method." Cassian, while running, replied that this was the best way to boost both strength and endurance. He added that from now on, he needed to focus not only on one-on-one battles, but also on 1 versus 100. Cassian concluded that endurance was essential, and Moros, understanding his intention, praised him, saying it was a good analysis. Back to that night, Crush raised his hand and said, "Wait a minute," he asked in confusion. "Isn't he supposed to take the entrance test to join the villains?" Crush scratched his head in disbelief, wondering if he would show up, but Blackhand couldn't hold back, pointed directly, and said he wanted to tear him apart, test or not. Ignoring their words, Cassian said he would take the test. After 10 days, hearing him say that, both of them were quite surprised. They fell silent, looking at each other with restraint. Ju Axe stepped forward from behind Cassian, saying the welcoming ceremony would happen in 10 days, and she would explain the rules. She began to lay out the rules. The fight would be one-on-one, and no killing unless absolutely necessary. Juke lifted her huge mug of beer. She laughed boldly and pointed at herself, saying, "Your first opponent is me. Let's rock the place." Cassian's face turned serious, while Juke remained excited. Returning to the present as he trained, he thought even though joining the villain territory wasn't a priority for him. Everyone in the park was stunned watching Cassian and praised him as brilliant. He grabbed 2 bars supporting his entire body weight with his hands. But if he became stronger, Cassian finally landed and continued thinking that to settle his score with Lampus, his mind filled with images from that time. Cassian tightened his grip on his towel, deciding that he would choose this path. Then he wrapped it around his neck and kept moving forward even if he had to go to hell. But he didn't forget to be aware of his surroundings. He happened to notice two girls paying attention to him. Sensing something unusual, Cassian quickly took off. The two of them watched his retreating figure and said to each other, "Unbelievable." One asked, "Is it him?" The other replied without a doubt. They began to shed their disguises, revealing themselves as Aroma and Hot, deciding to keep this secret from Garnet. Inside Cassian's apartment, the shower in the bathroom was turned on. He had just finished exercising and entered the room to take a shower. A moment later, Cassian came out. He looked around the room, noticing the silence. Was she still sleeping? As he was drying his hair, something caught his attention. Cassian saw the mess Yuri had left behind after returning home last night. He moved forward to clean up the mess, thinking he should tidy this up. But when he lifted a bag, Cassian found a strange letter. A little while later, Yuri woke up, yawning as she stepped out. She sleepily asked why he was up so early, but then saw Cassian holding and reading her letter. She hurriedly snatched the letter from his hands, saying, "What are you looking at?" Yuri then worried, asking if he had read it. Cassian, still drying his hair, replied that he just saw the title. It seemed to be an invitation to America. Realizing this, Yuri hesitated, unsure of what to say. She feared he might be worried and started to reassure him. "Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere." Cassian asked why, and Yuri said, "How could I leave you alone?" Cassian replied, "I can manage on my own." He opened the cabinet and took out a milk carton, thinking to himself that it would actually be more comfortable. Seeing Cassian's indifference, she stammered. Yuri then fretted about everything, asking if he knew how to cook, do the cleaning, laundry, and take out the trash. Cassian felt a bit annoyed since he was being treated like a kid. After drinking a few sips of milk, he said, "I'm not a kid. Do you even know how old I am?" Yuri responded, "You're 19 and still in your third year of high school." Cassian smiled and said, "Go on, isn't this a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? Don't worry about me, just do what you want," he added. Hearing his words, Yuri felt a mix of surprise and emotion. Back in the slum area of villains, the trio, Blackhand, Crush, and Double, were gathered. Double said, "There's only 1 week left. Will he show up as promised?" Blackhand wondered. "Him?" The guy replied, "The kid who's supposed to fight Juak." Hearing this, Blackhand felt even more annoyed, saying he wanted to deal with the kid himself. Double added, "But I've heard he even defeated Screwdriver." He immediately doubted. No way. He must have held back. Crush pointed at Blackhand. "Didn't you also get defeated?" Feeling insulted, Blackhand shouted, "Want to die? Who got defeated, huh? You want to get beaten, don't you?" Crush, sweating, said, "Why are you stressed? You're spitting in my face." As Double sharpened his knife, saying, "But he has to beat Juak before it's our turn," Blackhand looked over and said, "Wouldn't it be funny if Juak beats him badly?" His hand clenched into a fist, but this time he said, "I'll bet on him instead of Juak." Blackhand sneered mischievously and said with excitement, "To take revenge from last time, I'll give it my all." Sunlight streamed through the curtains, creating a vertical beam of light. Cassian sat at his computer, while Moros asked, "Are you really sending your sister to America?" With his hand on the mouse, Cassian replied, "It's a good opportunity." Moros, skeptical, asked, "Is that your only reason?" Cassian, deep in thought, stared straight ahead, frowning slightly. Then he turned to Moros and said, "It'll be good for both of us." Recalling Yuri, he added, "I'm saying this as Kang Woo, not Cassian." Moros, still worried, asked, "Are you going to be okay alone?" Cassian quickly answered, "Of course, I lived on my own in America before." The search bar on the screen flashed as Moros scoffed, "I'm asking because of what you're searching for." Cassian leisurely replied, "I've never cooked before." Sunlight poured in through the window as Yuri sat on the floor, fiddling with an unopened letter in her hand. Looking at it, she sighed unconsciously. Memories filled Yuri's mind, and she wondered if this wasn't a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, recalling the words, "Don't worry about me, just do what you want." Suddenly, loud calls rang out. "Quan Yuri! Quan Yuri!" Startled, Yuri jolted back to reality. Night had fallen outside, and at a diner, voices echoed as someone asked her, "Why call us and then look so glum? Can we order now?" Two friends probed, "What's on your mind? Got something to do with a guy?" Feeling out of line, one friend covered her mouth. "Spill it. Big sister's here. Shut your mouth." 3 large glasses of beer were brought over. "Here's your beer, ladies." Yuri's friends eagerly grabbed their beers, saying, "Come on, drink up. A bit of alcohol loosens you right up." Following their advice, Yuri took a big swig, finishing her beer. As night settled in at a luxury apartment complex, her journey home was slow after drinking heavily. A warm voice called, "Are you all right?" Seeing her, Cassian hurried to support her. "Why did you drink so much?" Yuri drowsily replied, "I'm not even tipsy." In a drunken haze, Yuri touched his chin and complimented, "Our Kang Woo is so cute." Moros sighed, "She's drunk as a skunk." Putting Yuri on the bed, she rolled over, unable to keep her eyes open. In a soft voice, she said, "When I was little, I always followed you around." With a flushed face, Yuri frowned. "But I'm grown up enough to take care of you now." The image of Jeff flashed in Cassian's mind. "I'm grown up enough to take care of you now." His eyes held a quiet reflection as he looked down at her, watching her sleep soundly. Cassian gently tucked her in. Not knowing why, he just kept looking at her. The sun rose, and waking up, Yuri rubbed her eyes and slowly walked out of the room. "My head, I drank too much." A prepared meal was on the kitchen table. Beside it was a note, piquing Yuri's curiosity as she picked it up. The note was handwritten. "Sis." As she read the note, Cassian was out jogging. "I made bean sprout soup for your hangover. Warm it up and eat with rice from Kang Woo." Under a clear blue sky at a large airport, standing in a corner of the airport, Yuri faced Cassian and instructed, "Don't skip meals. Eat 3 times a day. I'll call every morning and evening, so answer the phone." Worried, she kept saying, "Lock the doors well. You know how scary the world is." But Cassian calmly said, "I told you not to worry." Who wouldn't worry? With a restless face, she added, "Call if you run into any trouble." "Got it." Hearing her advice, Cassian calmly said, "That's something I should be saying to you." He put his hands in his pockets and said, "If anything happens to you, I'll fly straight to America." Cassian looked at her confidently to ease Yuri's worries. After giving instructions, Yuri was relaxed and waved goodbye to him as she headed to her call. By this time, the plane had taken off into the sky. In the gentle breeze, Cassian watched the plane gradually depart at a sunset in a ruined city. Now all 4 Juakro double blackhand were full of confidence. The match would be decided if one side surrendered or couldn't fight anymore. Cassian, dressed in combat gear, knew he would have 3 rounds. "We'll recognize all participants. So even if you lose, there won't be any severe penalties," they said. Driver sat nearby, resting his chin. "You'll just lose your right to challenge me, the ruler of the wicked." Seeing Driver on a collapsed building, Cassian said, "You're too noisy. Let's just fight already." Without hesitation, Driver smiled. "Okay, ready, Jock?" With power flowing in, she laughed. "Of course, let's do this," Moros advised. "Stay calm, Cassian. Don't fall into their trap." To which Cassian replied, "I won't." Looking at his opponent ahead, he thought, will it be Speed or Jock with her strength and endurance? Double assessed the teammate, thinking Jock wasn't just a fighter. She was a close combat master, trained for battle, with a bizarre mask. The guy looked down on her, noting she was a smart fighter who knew how to use her strengths. Considering the situation, he thought Speed would be ineffective against Jock, making her his worst opponent. Checking the situation, Double thought, this match is going to be intense. Then Driver raised 2 fingers and shouted, "Begin." As soon as the shout ended, Jock quickly dashed forward, shouting, "Don't dawdle." Suddenly, a long black streak shot out like lightning. It immediately wrapped around her, making her panic. What the heck is this? A loud warning sounded above. In a hurry, Jock looked up thinking, he's not up there. Then a loud call from Double came. In front, Jock. Purple-blue lightning appeared in front of Jock. At unbelievable speed, Cassian appeared right above her. "Damn it," she cursed. With just one kick, he struck her head. Witnessing this, Driver just shook his head in disbelief. Others below were also shocked by how fast the fight went. After taking Cassian's hit, Jock was knocked out on the ground. Surrounded by overflowing power, Cassian calmly called, "Next." At this moment, Jock lay defeated on the ground. Seeing this, Blackhand was wary and thought he couldn't believe it. With an angry expression, he stood there thinking he had taken down Jock, one of the strongest and most resilient in the malevolent region. Unable to wait any longer, Cassian gestured with his hand. "Don't waste my time anymore. Whoever's next, come up." Blackhand worried, thinking Cassian really was a monster. Cassian's voice continued to urge, "Who wants a beating? Come on up." While Crush, sweating, reminded, "He's calling you." Suddenly, a red arrow was shot straight forward. It flew and plunged into the spot where Cassian stood. He looked at the magic arrow in some surprise and glanced up. On top of a building, a foot appeared. "You've only beaten one person. Don't get so full of yourself." It was Red Eye with his magic arrows, the greatest hunter in the malevolent region, claiming, "Ready, I will be your opponent." Scene shifts to a high-rise building in the quiet night. A voice rose in the dark space. "Nothing's going to happen." A figure slowly appeared. "Don't worry about Bloodrain's case. I wasn't expecting much from that guy anyway." The voice on the phone asked about the malevolent region in Gatam district, and someone replied, "The malevolent region in Gatam district will soon collapse. Trust me, and wait, Chairman." After speaking, that person snickered. The blonde-haired figure sat cross-legged confidently. "I assure you, everything will go as planned." Back at the battle scene, loud explosions continued to echo. Arrows kept being shot at Cassian. Moros on one side, reminded of the situation. They're using arrows to chase. Just as he leaped into the air, an arrow was shot right behind him. He had just stepped on the wall when the arrow embedded deep into the stone, shattering the spot. Suddenly, a voice spoke, making Cassian quickly turn his head back. "Got you now." Behind Cassian, the red eye was in the air, pointing an arrow straight at him. "Now, let's end this hunt." In one move, he shot 3 arrows simultaneously. Too startled, Cassian could only stare wide-eyed at the arrows rushing towards him. A huge explosion occurred, causing debris to fly all over the sky. After the attack, Red Eye landed on a rooftop. Looking down, he put away his bow and said, "It's over, huh?" I was expecting something from him. Suddenly, a black rectangle appeared right behind him. When Red Eye turned around, Cassian rushed out from that void, yelling, "You're the one being hunted." It seemed like there would be another fierce fight, but Red Eye suddenly raised his hand. Before Cassian could make another move, he spoke first. "I lost. I surrender." Hearing that, Cassian was furious. "What?" Red Eye countered. "There's no other choice. Once a bowman is caught, there's no chance to win." Not expecting such an answer, Cassian said, "This is just a normal contest. How can you give up so easily?" He replied, "Normal? You must be kidding." Then Red Eye spoke, while retracting his bow. "From the start, I had no intention of being your opponent, but Screwdriver requested something from me." At this moment, there were drones in the sky, capturing their conversation. Curious, Cassian asked. "Screwdriver requested you," Red Eye replied. "He doesn't want anyone to get seriously hurt in this test." Then he took out a box and handed it to Cassian. "Take this." Confused, Cassian questioned, "What is this?" Red Eye explained. "It's a desire suppression patch. All the malevolent ones in Gatam District's malevolent region have this." Then he pointed to the patch on his neck and said that just placing it under the ear would have an immediate effect. It's the same color as the skin, so it's hard to detect. Looking at the box, he thought to himself, "I've seen it used to inject villains, but this is the first time I've seen it in patch form." Fiddling with the box in his hands, he wondered who could create something like this. Suddenly, Red Eye announced that his final opponent might be Blackhand. With a smile on his face, he said, "That kid is quite impulsive, but he has his own charm, so don't go too hard on him." Thinking back to his creepy face, Cassian and Moros beside him were speechless. "He is charming." Watching the match, Blackhand was quite worried. Standing below, Crush asked, "Who do you think will win?" Double chimed in, "That gunfight addict is at a disadvantage. He's not suited for one-on-one." Assessing the situation, the guy said, "It's not just about suitability. If he could take down Juak with one hit, then before he could finish, Blackhand snapped." "Idiot, he just got lucky." Looking at him, Double asked, "Do you really think he got lucky?" At this point, Crush spoke up. "Anyway, one-on-one is tough, right? How about 3-on-1? Blackhand protested. "Are you crazy? You want to gang up on him?" While the three discussed, a voice surprised them. "What's the big deal?" Now Jukak had woken up. Even lions need to bring a whole pride to hunt a buffalo. Hearing that, Blackhand grinned. "Oh my, unbelievable." Then he shouted, "Don't put me with her. The one who got taken down with one hit is the same level. I'm not a lion, I'm a Siberian tiger that hunts solo." Crush reminded, "You got taken down with one hit too." With a serious face, Jock said, "I'm not joking, this test is just a formality." Looking at the three of them, she raised her voice, both Eye and Red Eye. Upon hearing the next words, Blackhand was stunned. "And you too, you're just pawns to make him shine." Looking into Jock's sharp eyes, he shouted, "What nonsense are you talking about?" With no choice, she recounted, "I happened to overhear Screwdriver talking in the Paradise Bar. You know what he said? He said he'd hand over the boss position to him." Blackhand startled. "What? Too hard to believe." He cursed. "This is nonsense." Jock provided evidence. Yu-Cha was there too. You can ask him if you don't believe. Recalling Driver's confident face, Blackhand was cautious. No way. Memories of being defeated by Cassian returned. Jock then gritted her teeth. "He's just a ruthless villain with no identity. Do you really want to easily hand over the supreme title of the villain regent to him? Doubtful, she said. Aren't you angry that this scoundrel is receiving Screwdriver's excessive favor? The Screwdriver we know isn't like that. Without hesitation, Jacques made a proposal. So, what's the decision now? If you join us to turn the tables hearing this, Double asked back, what do you mean by us? At this point, Jacques gave a twisted smile. Behind her now appeared new faces. I brought comrades here with the same goals. The more the merrier.